Hey, Waffle Gang, we've made it to Boxing Day. I'm probably sat in the corner somewhere, stuffed to bits, regretting my choices of the amount of food I've eaten. But whatever you're up to today, this is today's Boxing Day compilation video. It's gonna be the last one for a while, so don't worry about it if you're not into the compilations. As I always say, I just do these because I know over the Christmas period, it's very busy for a lot of people. And some people just like to listen to random stuff while they're doing, all the chores around the house, all that sort of stuff. If it's not for you, totally no worries. Switch it off here, but still, I wish you a lovely Boxing Day. And let's crack on with today's first story. Now, today's first story comes from Evie Stevie from the True Off My Chest subreddit. And it says, my mother-in-law cut my hair in my sleep because she thought I cheated on my husband. So I'm still processing this. But I need to get it off my chest. Last night I woke up and realized someone had butchered my hair. One side is a jagged pixie cut and the other side hangs awkwardly past my shoulders. At first I thought I was losing my mind. Maybe I sleepwalked or something. But no. I confronted my husband Tim because he's been acting weird lately, but he denied it. Then he drops the bombshell. My mum. She might have done it. Apparently, my mother-in-law, let's call her Diane, is convinced I've been cheating on Tim. Why? Because last week she saw me having lunch with a co-worker. For the record, the co-worker, Kyle, is gay, and we were literally talking about work. But Diane decided I must be having an affair, and instead of, talking to me or Tim, she broke into our house in the middle of the night with scissors, and she went full Edward Scissorhands on my hair. This morning, I confronted her. At first she played innocent, but when I pressed her, she literally said, well, maybe you'll think twice before humiliating my son. I was fuming. I told her Kyle isn't even into women, but she just rolled her eyes and said something like, that's what they all say. I didn't even know how to respond to that level of delusion. Tim is horrified and apologetic, but I'm struggling here. This woman violated my personal space, destroyed my hair, and acted like she was in the right. I wanted to go no contact with her, but Tim is stuck between me and his mum, and I feel like this is going to be a huge blow up in our marriage. Any advice? Because I'm honestly at a loss here. I think OP needs to go a step further than no contact. Breaking in, assaulting you. I'm absolutely sorry you had to go through that because it's horrifying. And incredibly scary that she did that, but it also shows what she's capable of. If you really think about it, she broke into their house in the middle of the night, snuck into their bedroom while they were sleeping. How fucked up is that? Took scissors to OP's head, all because she was having lunch with a co-worker, because she saw her sitting down with someone having lunch. There was no discussion, no questions asked, just straight to breaking in and assault. And if she's willing to do that over lunch, what else is she capable of if she has other suspicions? And Tim needs to get his priorities straight because this is about OP's safety, because that is fucked up. OP then adds an edit to that post before the comments and says, my husband and I will be going to my mother-in-law tomorrow to talk to her about the situation again. Hopefully everyone will be calmed down by then and I won't have to threaten legal action. Thank you for all the support and suggestions. We'll keep them in mind. Edit 2, to everyone saying this is fake, I don't know how to make you believe me, and honestly, I shouldn't have to. I'm sitting here crying in my friend's guest room, completely broken, trying to make sense of how my life has fallen apart in the span of 24 hours. My husband, the person I thought I could trust the most, betrayed me in the most humiliating way possible. His mother violated me in my sleep, and now strangers are telling me my pain isn't real. I wish with everything in me that this wasn't real. And I wish I wasn't sitting here trying to figure out how to rebuild my life, how to ever trust someone again, or how to even face people around me after this. I've barely eaten, I've been shaking all day, and I feel like my world is crumbling beneath me. I turned to Reddit because I didn't know where else to go. I needed advice, a sense of support, something to help me hold myself together. But these accusations, they're just making me feel even more alone. If you can't believe me, fine, but please don't make this harder than it already is. I wouldn't wish this pain on anyone. Zan said, why was his first thought, maybe my mum did it? Like, why would a normal person's mind go there? Did he let her in? I'm sorry, but if my spouse woke up with her hair butchered, none of my thoughts would be that it could be my mum, unless I knew, or she had done that before to someone else I was with. This is definitely more to that story, and if he isn't immediately on your side, sounds like you have a husband problem along with a mother-in-law problem. Capo K says I bet his mum told him about Kyle and he didn't care. Still doesn't if he needs to debate whose side he's on. So Tired of BS says, charge her with B and E as well as assault, because that's what it is. Riggs by Girl says, OP, this is the only way. She broke multiple laws and is clearly unstable. Police report, cameras, change the locks. So OP came in with her first update and says, my mother-in-law cut my hair in my sleep because she thought I cheated on my husband, and now I found out my husband helped her. After the conversation we had with Diane this morning, I noticed my husband, Tim, was acting weird. At first, I thought it was just guilt about standing up to his mum, but it felt like more than that. He's been avoiding eye contact and getting defensive when I bring up what happened. Earlier, I couldn't take it anymore, so I sat him down and told him he needed to be 100% honest with me about everything. That's when he dropped the bombshell. Apparently, Diane didn't come up with a haircut idea on her own. Tim admitted that he knew about it ahead of time and even helped her. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. He said he truly thought I was cheating on him with Kyle, my gay co-worker, because Diane had convinced him that there was too much evidence to ignore. When she suggested cutting my hair as some kind of weird punishment, he didn't stop her. He in fact led her into our house that night while I was sleeping. Tim said he didn't want to confront me directly because he wasn't ready for the truth. So instead, he let his mother do this insane thing to me, thinking it would force me to come clean. Afterwards, when I didn't admit to cheating, he started to realize he might have been wrong. But by then, he didn't know how to tell me what he'd done. He kept saying, I'm so sorry, I was just confused. But I honestly don't know how to process this. This wasn't just Diane acting like a lunatic. This was both of them. And my own husband betrayed me in one of the most humiliating ways possible. I packed a bag and I'm staying with a friend tonight, and while I figure out what to do, I don't know if I can ever trust him again after this. It's not just the haircut, it's the fact that he didn't talk to me, believe the worst about me without any proof, and actively participate in something so cruel and violating. As for Diane, she's officially dead to me. I've already told Tim that I don't want her in my life ever again, regardless of what happens between us. Right now I'm torn. Part of me wants to file a police report on both of them for what they did, but I'm scared of how messy it will get. Another part of me just wants to cut ties and move on, but that feels like letting them off too easy. I don't know what my next step is, but I do know this. I deserve better than this. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this. Your comments and advice have meant the world, and I'm truly grateful for the kindness and understanding. It's helping me find the strength to figure out what comes next. Absolutely, you do not trust Tim again. You do not go back to that guy. He's shown you who he is. Imagine that situation, sleeping in your room, which should be your safe space, with the person you should be able to trust the most. While you're asleep, he's actually awake. His mum comes into the room and cuts your hair. That is sinister. All over some suspicions they had. Not only did he fail to protect you, he actively conspired with your mother to assault you. That's messed up. And I totally agree with you. You have to make your own decision on how you feel about how to take things on, because I can't blame you for wanting to walk away and just getting away from that messed up shit. But I agree that, they shouldn't get off that easy either, because that's just so messed up. But OP comes in with another update and says, I think I'm going to divorce him and I may file a police report. After everything that's happened, I've been thinking a lot about my next steps, and I've come to a heartbreaking but necessary conclusion. I don't think there's any coming back from this. I trusted Tim with my heart, my safety, my life, and he betrayed me in ways I never thought possible. I can't imagine a future where I feel safe with him, where I can trust him, or where I don't carry the weight of this violation every day. I'm strongly considering filing for divorce. The thought of staying with him feels unbearable, but at the same time I can't stop worrying about the messiness of it all. I just want to cut ties completely, to walk away and rebuild my life without him or his mother dragging me down any further. As for filing a police report, I'm leaning towards it, but I'm scared of what it might bring. I know what they did was a crime, My own husband led his mother into our home to assault me in my sleep, but the thought of dealing with legal battles, or even just having to relive this again and again in statements, is exhausting. Part of me wants to hold them accountable, but another part just wants to run far away and never look back. Right now, I'm taking it one step at a time. I've been talking to friends, trying to find some clarity in all this chaos. It's terrifying and painful, but I know one thing for sure. I deserve much better than this. Thank you to everyone who showed me kindness and support. It means the world to me right now. Acorn Girl said to OP, I think she should tell her husband that he has to shave his head as part of his apology. Like that's part of what he has to do before she will even consider coming home. Make him send the selfie. Tell him that this will not fix the situation but is a step in the right direction to prove he's really sorry. And try to get an admission in text of what they did. Like, you did this to me and I don't feel safe, and hopefully he, the mother-in-law, will apologize via text or at least not deny the incident. Try to draw the conversation out over several days and don't go home during the process. Get lots of photos to document the incident before you let anyone else touch your hair, and tell the mother-in-law and husband that they'll be paying for the best, hopefully expensive stylist you can find to fix your hair. Then OP can go ahead and do a police report on both the mother-in-law for assault and domestic violence, and the husband for, I don't know, aiding and abetting domestic violence and assault. And retain a lawyer right after making the police report. Usually an initial consultation is free. OP should have a legal representation as she moves forward with divorce. I also recommend not going home at all because it won't be safe, even before the bastard shaves his head. There is no way to move past this. I'd never let that man so much as touch my hand ever again if I was OP. Someone who would do this to you is sick and dangerous. What might he do next when he thinks you're cheating or doing anything he doesn't like? Will he scar your face so no one else will want you? Will he do something worse? I'm so sorry they did this to you. Internet hugs if you want them. OP responded saying thank you so much for taking the time to write this. I can't even express how much it means to me to feel seen and supported right now. You're absolutely right. I've been trying to wrap my head around what to do next, and your suggestions really help me see things more clearly. I've already started taking pictures of my hair, and I'm keeping every text as evidence. I hadn't thought about asking for an admission in writing, but that's such a good idea. I'll definitely try to do that. The idea of him shaving his head as part of an apology honestly feels like the bare minimum after what he allowed to happen. I don't think there's any way to truly fix what he's done. I'm terrified of what he or his mum might do next if I go back, so I'm staying with my friend for now while I figure out my options. The thought of filing a police report and getting a lawyer is overwhelming, but I know it might be necessary to protect myself. The betrayal I feel from both of them is unbearable, and I don't think I could ever trust him again. Your words about what could happen next time really hit me hard because I've been trying not to think about that, but deep down, I know you're right. This isn't something I can move past. It's just too big, too cruel, and too dangerous to ignore. Thank you so much for your kindness and for helping me feel like I'm not alone in this. Internet hugs right back at you. Hairy Godmother says your husband is a waste of oxygen and so is his mother. I'll throw hands. Absolutely press charges. Our hair is our glory, and if you're in the NE Alabama area, I will gladly shape up and style your hair. I'm so sorry this happened to you. OP says thank you so much for this. Honestly, means the world to me right now. If I lived anywhere near Northeast Alabama, I'd absolutely take you up on the offer to help fix my hair. It's such a mess right now, and I feel so embarrassed every time I look in the mirror. Sadly, I'm pretty far away, but your kindness and support make me feel a little less alone in all this. Thank you for being so sweet. OP then asks, can this conversation with my husband be used for a police report and divorce? And then shows the text messages, which was between OP and the husband, and it said, I need you to be honest with me. Did you know what mother-in-law was going to do? He said, I didn't think it would go this far. OP said, that is not an answer. Did you know she was planning to cut my hair? OP says she was upset, okay? She kept saying you needed to learn a lesson, but I didn't think she would actually do it. OP said, learn a lesson? Are you hearing yourself right now? She told you what she was going to do and you still let her in. OP says, I thought maybe she'd cool down after talking to you. OP said she told you she wanted to teach me a lesson by cutting my hair, and you thought it would be fine. What is wrong with you? He said, I didn't think she'd actually go through with it. OP says, but you didn't stop her either. You didn't warn me, didn't protect me, you just let it happen. He said, I didn't know how to handle it, okay? She was so worked up, I didn't want to make things worse. OP responded saying, worse? How could it possibly get worse? You knew she was going to do it and you let her. He said, I didn't mean for it to happen like this. OP said, but it did happen, and now I'm sitting here humiliated, betrayed, and wondering how I'm supposed to ever trust you again. He said, I'm sorry, I really am. OP said, sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't make me feel safe in my own home anymore. I don't know who you are anymore. I need space to figure this out. He responded with her name, saying, please just come home and we can talk about this. OP said, no, you made your choice and now I have to make mine. OP then continued with her post saying, I'm going through an incredibly traumatic situation and I don't know what my legal options are. My mother-in-law entered my home in the middle of the night with my husband's knowledge and cut my hair while I was sleeping. She did this because she believed I was cheating. I wasn't. I confronted my husband, and while he didn't outright admit to planning this, he essentially confessed to knowing what his mum intended to do and letting her into our house that night. I'm planning to leave him, and I'm seriously considering filing both a police report for assault on my mother-in-law and a report against my husband for enabling her. 1. Would this conversation be enough to support filing a police report for what happened? 2. Could it help me in a divorce if I decide to pursue one? 3. Is it worth consulting a lawyer even if I'm not 100% sure about filing a report yet? I've documented everything, photos of my hair, text messages with my husband, and written down the timeline of events. I just don't know if this conversation would actually hold up as evidence, since he doesn't outright admit to anything but heavily implies it. Any advice is appreciated. I'm feeling lost, scared, and overwhelmed right now. Independent Mess said to that one, file the report against your mother-in-law as soon as you can. This conversation sounds like it would help the case very much. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Valkyrie's Ride says, in getting restraining orders against both of them. Don't be alone with either of them. If they both acted this insane about suspected infidelity, there is no telling what they will do when you tell your husband that you are getting divorced. Yeah, and possibly using legal action against them. It just sounds so unhinged. And absolutely, OP's safety is paramount in this situation, but I hope she does take legal action against them, because just the thought process of what happened in that situation is so scary, so unhinged. But if you think about it, in the background, they was talking about this, they was planning this. And after all this, after OP confronts him about it and says, can't you see how messed up this is? And he was just like, well, she's overwhelmed and I didn't think she'd actually go through with it. I mean, the fact that they've had this conversation anyway is so incredibly messed up. And whatever choices you make, OP, I really do wish you all the best. Do not go near these people. They are scary. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, this story comes from Save the Plants 999 and says, am I the asshole for not watering my wife's plants? Me, 42 male, and my wife, 41 female, have been married for 3 years. My wife has many good qualities, but she is quite disorganized and more than a little lazy. She loves gardening, but I think it's more that she likes the idea of gardening because she's terrible at it. She is the Saddam Hussein of plants. She not only has a poor idea of how to garden, what plants need what kind of care, etc., but mostly because she is so lazy her plants die from neglect. The amount of care needed to help her plants alive is probably no more than 5 to 10 minutes a day, but she can't even manage that. Her position is that it makes her happy and it doesn't really affect me, so what do I care? My position is that it's slightly psychopathic to claim to love plants but not even put in a very modest amount of effort to keep said plants alive. It doesn't make sense to me. Our compromise on this is that we just agree to disagree. I turned a blind eye to a wanton plant torture/murder, so as long as I don't have to participate, and she goes on happily throttling Mother Nature to death in the backyard. Our problem is that my wife is going on vacation for 3 weeks and now wants me to water her plants. I can do this very easily. So could anyone, but I have a moral obligation. I don't want to be involved in a cottage industry of death. To me, I'll be participating in keeping these tortured souls alive, maybe even giving them hope of a better life. only to have it dashed when she returns in 3 weeks to resume a reign of terror. My wife is claiming I'm being dramatic. I am, but I don't think I'm wrong. So we've decided to ask Reddit and will abide by the crowd's decision. Am I the arsehole for not wanting to water her plants? But Glad says to OP, do her a favor and install some irrigation while she's away. You could literally make her so happy and have a productive garden. I mean, that's what I would do if I loved my wife. I wouldn't make her feel worse about the things she loves. Worth Season says you're the arsehole. It's watering plants. Maybe show her how her plants can thrive on well-tended care. Edits. I meant for a husband to water plants and when wife gets back, she can see what they should look like. But I do not think it's that big of an ask from your spouse. How hard is it to water the plants once a week? They may disagree on the plants themselves, but overall, spouses do things for each other. No Entertainer says, this is hilarious, but dude, come on, water the plants. A small gesture in the grand scheme of things if you love your wife and want to make her happy. I'm with the comment of seeing if you can automate the watering in some way. I mean, you could just literally get a timed sprinkler. I'm not sure if that'll work, but hey. Ruthless Benedict says you're the arsehole. All these people claiming this is so funny must also dislike their partners, because that's all I get from this. You think she's lazy. You don't agree with something that has fuck all to do with you in the most dramatic way. It costs you minutes, if that, to do one small nice thing, which very likely could put a stop to the thing you hate by the way, and would make her happy, and yet this is the stand you want to make. Let us know how that works out for you. Seriously, I'm a gardener, and nearly all of us have killed a load of plants in our early days, and many of us still do. It's not that deep, but what is messed up is the ridiculous stance of being cruel to your partner for no reason. I hope you don't need her help in the future. And one more comment from St. Mary St. Mike, who says, hey man, my wife started raspberry bushes in the backyard. I told her to do whatever you want, but I don't want to be involved with maintenance. I already take care of our idiot cats, and we have a kid, and the nature of my job means I have the flexibility to do most of the housework, so I didn't want anything added to my plate. You know what I do in the summer when she goes on work trips? Water the dang plants. Because she asked me to. I don't touch them when she's here, but if she shoots me a text, hey, do you mind spraying the bushes? I do it. I'm going to call you not the arsehole, because it is stupid that your wife won't water them when she's here, but wants you to water them now. But like, they're plants, my guy. Just water them for your wife. And there was, an OP was voted a you're the arsehole in this situation. That's what the post was. But there was a lot of back and forth in the comments saying, oh, you know, she's an adult, etc., etc. She should be looking after the plants. And other people said that OP is exaggerating and does he actually like his wife, etc. But OP did edit the post and says, okay, wow, this ended up getting way more polarizing than I thought. The consensus seems to be that I would be the arsehole, or that I already am and never loved my wife and deserve to die alone. So I will definitely look after the plants. I'm hoping that, like any good children's movie, I can grow from being a grumpy curmudgeon to having a heartwarming relationship with a row of cherry tomatoes. My wife, who has read through all your replies, notes that she is mortified at being outed as a registered plant abuser and will certainly try to do better. I myself have learned not to criticize her online because, just as in real life, people like her a hell of a lot more than me, which she's been cackling about for the last hour. Thanks everyone. But now, what do you guys make of this situation? What would you do in it if it was you? Would you water the plants? Would you not? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from Mediocre Sorbet 4553 from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. And it says, am I the arsehole for telling my girlfriend to get rid of a creepy dummy? My 22 male girlfriend, 21 female, loves horror. She told me about 3 months ago that she read Goosebumps in elementary school and it sparked a lifelong interest in horror. And that when she was a kid, all she ever wanted for birthdays and Christmas was a replica of Slappy, a creepy ventriloquist dummy. I'm kind of a wimp about that stuff, and I think the dummy thing is frankly insane, but I like her enough to ignore it. Until last week, her birthday, when her mother brought her a Slappy replica. She's afraid of dummies, hence why she never got it for her as a kid. My girlfriend was thrilled. You would have thought her mum had handed her keys to a Tesla with the way she was acting. She was literally crying with happiness. But when she saw the expensive necklace I got her, she just said thank you. She's totally obsessed with the dummy. Her roommate thinks it's hilarious, and she carries it around her apartment like a teddy bear and even sleeps with it in her bed. I kind of snapped last night when I went over and she was holding the dummy when I answered the door. I told her it was creepy and she was being weird about it and she needed to get rid of it. I'll admit I raised my voice a little bit. My girlfriend started crying and our roommate told me to leave. Roommate and friends have been texting me saying I'm not supporting her and the dummy is harmless. Girlfriend herself hasn't reached out to me. So am I the arsehole? So in the comments, the girlfriend's roommate turns up and it's the errorist 404 says, "Lol, Matt, did you seriously not think either of us would see this post? You only learned about this subreddit because V showed you some of the post here in an attempt to get you to engage in any of her interests. Makes sense that you only care about it when it could benefit you. I don't know whether this is some passive-aggressive power move to get V to text you back, or if you're just that desperate for someone to agree with you. But either way, I don't think it's working out like you hoped. Certainly works well for me, since now I don't have to worry about biting my tongue for her sake. Until last week, her birthday, when her mother bought her a Slappy replica. She's afraid of dummies, hence why she never got it for as a kid. My girlfriend was thrilled. You'd have thought her mum handed her the keys to a Tesla with the way she was acting. She was literally crying with happiness. When she saw the expensive necklace I got her, she just said thank you. And then says of course she was excited. It's something that she wanted for years, and the fact that it came from her mum also made it special since she hates the thing. And you can act all wounded about her not being as thrilled about the necklace, but we both know that you're intentionally leaving out the fact that V fucking told you previously that she doesn't like wearing jewelry. She doesn't like how a lot of it looks, and she has sensory problems with it. And then when I ask you to spend $1,000 on a necklace that looks like the Amazon logo for a girl you've been with for 7 months, dude. To be honest, it's just kind of weird. Then quotes, I kind of snapped last night when I went over and she was holding the dummy when I answered the door. I told her it was creepy and she was being weird about it and she needed to get rid of it. I'll admit I raised my voice a bit. The roommate then continues, kind of, a little bit. You blew up. The people across the way came to check in on us after you left because of you yelling. Rather than talking to your girlfriend and expressing your reservations like a normal person, you bottled it up and then let it out on her with no warning. I know for sure that V is done with you, but honestly, for the sake of your future relationships, I hope that you grow the fuck up and learn to communicate without alerting anyone in the building of your issues. Also, get better taste. Goosebumps is awesome. You're the arsehole. Edit, we're having fun watching Goosebumps with Slappy, and then shares an image. It just felt like she was really excited by the gift she got, something that she loved since she was a child and never had until now. And the fact that you raised your voice to the point a neighbor had to come and check on them afterwards, yeah, no, come on now. And I would totally understand if you was freaked out by the dummy or something like that, you didn't want it in bed with you, etc. But you communicate that properly like an adult. It's really that simple. One thing about the picture of the dummy though is like, why were the eyes hidden of the dummy? But Hogwarts says, wait, is it really a necklace of the Amazon logo, or am I just misunderstanding what the necklace is? If it really is an Amazon logo, why the fuck did he spend so much money on it? Is it made of diamonds? Why would anyone want to wear the logo for Amazon? Matchgirl says, my guess that it's a Tiffany smile necklace that would look like an Amazon logo, to me at least, and would cost a heck of a lot more than the materials are worth because of the name. The roommate replies to that saying, yeah, that's the one. Sorry, I realized I probably should have included the necklace for reference. I've been calling it the Amazon necklace because of the weird smile and the whole lack of thought behind it. I know the design is probably charming to some and that'd make a great gift for the right person. But it's just not at all something that V has shown an interest in, and I can't really see how the design is worth blowing nearly $1,000 on for someone who doesn't care about the brand. Remy Wright says, I just looked it up and man, the thing looks like the McDonald's Happy Meal smile. I'm not big on jewelry but will wear certain things. That's a hard no. Roommate says, damn, that's a better comparison. I should have started calling it the muck necklace or something instead. And a couple more comments with a roommate replying saying, I think I have the same sheets. Are those the ones from Target? They are the perfect blend of soft and crisp. Roommate says they are, and we've been really liking the feel of them. I've been thinking of finding the link to send to Matt so he can buy himself a nice set. It seems his spot on the bed has been taken over by a certain creepy dummy. And the last commenter says, bye roommate and Slappy, match in pajamas. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now this next story comes from Valuable Bit 9799 from the Off My Chest subreddit. It says, my sister-in-law pranked me by giving me alcohol knowing I don't drink. I feel like I'm spiraling about it. I, 29 female, don't drink alcohol. The short answer to the reason for this is I grew up with two highly abusive alcoholic parents. It took me a lot of self-work and therapy to even be able to be in the same room as people that are drinking. When I meet new people, I just politely turn down drinks by saying something along the lines of, I don't drink. There has obviously been some instances where people ask me why, but I never go into the traumatic details. I've never had anyone push it onto me or anything. That's what makes what happened last weekend so bizarre. On the second Saturday of every month, my husband, 30 male, and his sister, 32 female, throw a cookout or something along the lines for all of their childhood friends. I've always thought it was really cool that they stayed close with so many people since I myself moved away from home and only stay in contact with one friend from school. I've been attending these hangouts ever since my husband and I started dating. There's never been any issues. I get along well with his friends and his sister. Last Saturday, my husband took my 11-year-old little brother out of town for a dad/son day. We're his legal guardians. I've had custody of him since I was 20. So I went to the cookout alone this time. I've done this a couple of times before and it's always been fine. So my sister-in-law handed out the usual mimosas. I asked for just an orange juice like always. When I took a sip of the drink she handed me, I immediately spit it out because I could taste champagne. I turned around to my sister-in-law and said, "Oh, you must have given me your drink by mistake." When I turned, I noticed her and two of her friends laughing. I was so confused. I asked what was going on and my sister-in-law said through her giggles, "We thought it'd be funny to see how you react to alcohol since we've never seen you drink it before. You should have seen your face." I was honestly just so shocked that my only response was, "What the hell?" as they continued laughing. I just told them I was leaving. I honestly don't even remember that drive home because I was trying to keep myself from having a panic attack. When I finally got home, I just broke down crying. My husband and brother got home shortly after that, and I couldn't hide how I was feeling even if I wanted to. My husband immediately asked me what was wrong, and I just broke down again. I hate that my brother had to see me cry. I tried to keep our house as happy and safe as possible. After I put on a movie for my brother, I explained what happened to my husband. He was so mad. I've never seen him like that before. He told me to go relax with my brother and he was going to sort everything out. I could hear him yelling at his sister on the phone, and after almost an hour, he came and sat with us and told me he wouldn't be seeing her again. The next day, we told my mother and father-in-law. I've always been really close with them, so I wanted to confide in them. But I was obviously scared because that's their daughter, and I didn't want to talk bad about her to them. To my surprise, they were absolutely mortified and so apologetic on behalf of their daughter. I'm so glad because my little brother adores them. It would have been devastating if our relationship with them suffered because of this. So yeah, this past week has been so weird. I feel weirdly betrayed. I hate that my sister-in-law and her friends used me as some sort of entertainment for the day. I know that they don't know the trauma this triggered inside of me. I'm just so confused on why they thought that was an okay thing to do. I also feel guilty because I don't want my husband to stop going to the cookouts and lose his time with his friends. And I don't want him and his sister to never see each other again because of me. My husband is amazing and has assured me it wouldn't be my fault if they never speak again. It's just hard not to feel that way. Don't worry though. I've had a lot of emergency therapy sessions this week and I know I'll be okay. It was just such a bizarre thing to experience. It seems like such a small, inconsequential thing to have happened to me, and it has been a crash course on trauma triggers, PTSD, etc. Typing it all out has been so helpful. Thanks for listening to my ramblings. That's such a mad thing to do, slipping anyone alcohol against their will is never okay. Just thinking what the hell is going through their minds to even think that's acceptable, and then laughing about it afterwards. It just shows that they took your boundaries of not drinking as a joke rather than something to respect. I know it's mad saying this because it should be the case anyway, but sort of major props to the husband and the in-laws for immediately taking this seriously and showing OP that her safety and her boundaries matter, because we see it too often in these stories about family, pressuring people to just get over it to keep the family harmony. OK Routine says, some people like your sister-in-law have no sense but have been blessed with the privilege of never had a trauma touch them. They are frivolous and unserious people. They are malicious children. Let them go be frivolous and unserious people together. Grateful you have a strong support system in the form of your mother-in-law, father-in-law, and husband. But the commenter says, in my experience, some people tend to get really weird and insistent when you say you don't drink. I get how so many cultures have ingrained social drinking into their framework and all that, but it's incredibly off-putting how many people I've encountered who genuinely get offended that you don't. Hell, you'd think people like this would be appreciated more so they don't do something moronic like attempt to drive after a night of heavy drinking. I'll never understand that. Another commenter says, it actually makes me angry and knowing the fact that you were going to be there alone this time, and that's when she decided to prank you. Almost as if she was waiting for this opportunity. I'm happy you have a solid support system and they're on your side. Reiterating what others have commented. She doesn't need to know the reason. None of them do. I don't drink often anymore. Mostly during social occasions, which are very few. I used to love drinking, but I knew I needed/wanted to stop because I didn't like the feeling anymore. I felt very out of control and realized I needed it to be happier. Also, addiction runs in my family. Never feel bad about this. You're taking care of yourself, and it will never be your fault if no one speaks to your sister-in-law again. That's on her. She made a very poor decision, and now she needs to have consequences. You did nothing wrong. Be extra gentle with yourself for a while and give yourself grace for your responses to this trigger. I hope you're doing better. So OP came in with her update and says, thank you to everyone that left me kind comments and messages on my previous post. I'll just get right into the update. A lot of you guessed it right. This isn't the first time my sister-in-law has done something like this. She is definitely what some would consider a mean girl. My husband and his parents have had multiple falling outs with her over the years, but they've been on good terms recently until she pranked me. So yeah, I could see how my husband's immediate reaction to go no contact seemed like an overreaction, but he's dealt with a lot from her in the past. I don't want to give any specific examples because they're personal to my husband and his family. Hope you all understand. So here's what happened after my last post. After talking with my therapist and my husband, I decided I wanted to message my sister-in-law. I asked her if she wanted to get lunch and talk about what happened. I wanted to explain some of my past to her, my PTSD diagnosis, and why what she did affected me so much. I just wanted this to be over and for us to come to an understanding. But she never responded. A couple of my husband's friends that were at the cookout when the prank happened called us to check in on me. They said they had no idea my sister-in-law planned that and they never would have let it happen. That's probably why she didn't clue them in on the prank. They told me that after I left, they told her it wasn't cool. After a couple of days, I just gave up hope of her messaging me back and decided to start moving on. Yesterday, my sister-in-law blew up my husband's phone. She said some pretty awful things. To summarize, it was along the lines of, it's not my fault your wife is a pussy that's scared of champagne. She called me a bunch of names from everything to bitch, see you next Tuesday, etc. She said she never liked me and she wished my husband stayed with his high school girlfriend. They broke up when they were 18, by the way. My husband is 30, lol. The worst thing she said was my husband was just doing charity by taking in a couple of orphans. If you don't remember, I have custody of my 11-year-old brother and we don't have any contact with our parents because they're abusive. So yeah, some pretty awful stuff. I was honestly just shocked. I thought we got along fine. We were never best friends or anything, but I have no idea she held this much animosity towards me. Maybe she's just embarrassed and lashing out because her parents and some of her friends berated her for it. I don't know. My husband sent just one message back to her saying he never wants to see or talk to her again, and then blocked her and her husband's numbers. He told his parents what happened and they were furious too. I don't know what they said to her, but they're about as done as my husband. Since I've been in therapy and have support around me, her words didn't bother me much. I know she obviously has some problems to deal with and I'm just her latest target. The worst thing she did was bring my brother up. I'll never forgive her for that. He's not an orphan. He has 2 parents that love him, and I'm not either. I have in-laws that love and support me. They always have my back, even when it comes to their own daughter. If I never see my sister-in-law again, I'd be fine with that. I truly hope one day she'll come to her senses and understand the way she treats people isn't right. We've decided to turn every second Saturday of the month into a family day in place of the cookouts. I'm gonna be just fine. I'm already feeling miles better than I did writing my previous post. For everyone calling me dramatic, I'm genuinely glad you don't have experience with PTSD or triggers. I don't think it's funny to give someone alcohol without their consent, even if you know the person drinks. Anyway, again, thank you for all the kind words. I hope there be no more updates, but if anything crazy happens, I'll let you know. OP in this sounds like such a wonderful person. The fact that they reached out after that to try and, build some kind of bridges, was going to explain her past to sister-in-law to try and give her some understanding of why that was not okay, which, OP didn't have to do. But then to have sister-in-law turn it around and say all that shitty stuff is just like, it's just unforgivable. And one day she's going to regret those decisions. But like some of the comments were saying, I'm so glad that OP has that support around them from mother-in-law, father-in-law, husband. Sounds like a wonderful little group there. But one more comment which was a top comment in the update from Decadent Life, who says, sorry for all the conflict, but it does sound like it's working out okay. The idea of changing the cookout get-together days into family days is a great idea. If you and your husband is missing out on socializing with some of those friends, you guys can schedule your own times to get together with everyone. I understand why you wanted to explain more to your sister-in-law, so she would understand why this was so traumatic for you. But I think it's for the best that the conversation never happened. She sounds quite cruel. I don't think she would have a sudden attack of empathy. If anything, she may have taken the info you shared with her and used it to hurt you. Sometimes we think that if someone understands better, it has solved the problem. But when you're dealing with someone like your sister-in-law, it rarely goes that way. It's just giving them ammunition. This is something that I've had to learn myself. I think it's more common in those of us who have been victimized, perhaps especially while growing up. We want to believe that if the person just knew something or understood something better, that they would stop their bad behavior. But that's not necessarily true, and we shouldn't be kissing their ass, which is how it can sometimes come across. It's important not to give our power away. Which is a very good comment in itself as well. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from GFJQ23 and it says, me, 32 female, posted on Facebook about Santa Claus not being real. My niece, 13 female, is a Facebook friend and is now devastated. Sister, 36 female, is furious with me. I can't believe I even need to post this, but here we go. I posted the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool meme where he tells kids about sex and says how Santa isn't real. My niece, who just turned 13, has a Facebook account that is about a week old. I honestly forgot I even had her as a friend. My sister called me furious. Apparently, she had to come clean to both my nieces. The other one is 11, and now they are so upset that they couldn't go to school today. I told her I thought she had told them years ago about Santa not being real, but I still felt bad and apologized. She says that isn't good enough and I need to publicly say how Santa is real and provide proof to my nieces how I believe Santa is real. I refuse. I think they are far too old to be believing in Santa still. My mother and father sided with my sister, saying I shouldn't ruin my niece's Christmas. For fuck's sake, it is March, and take away their childhood prematurely. I feel like I'm in crazy town. I just sent an email saying I'm sorry the incident happened and that my nieces are hurting, but that I'm not going to pretend Santa exists because I feel like it is an unreasonable request. My parents have said that they are disappointed with me. And my sister said until I agree to lie about Santa, she's going to go no contact. Am I wrong that 13 and 11 is a fine age to stop believing in Santa? I get that they're all upset, but isn't this an inevitable part of growing up? Usually my family is reasonable, so I'm a bit shocked about this, all honestly. My sister and her family aren't even Christian. Yes, I know Santa isn't a Christian thing, but Christmas is a Christian holiday. We never really made a big deal of Christmas beyond eating good food and opening a few gifts. I was kind of thinking through this, this 13-year-old is on social media, Facebook apparently. Have they not found out about this already? The internet's a wild place. You see some shit on there. Not that I'm saying it's right, but... And in school as well, they mention that Santa's real to some other kid in school. Someone's gonna give them an awakening, I think. But Lonnie Lee says, your sister is having difficulty with her daughters growing up. If the kids really still believed in Santa, then she's been keeping them ignorant and innocent to a degree that borders on abusive. The girls know the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy aren't real either. Your parents are enabling your sister's weirdness. I guess you could post that, yes, Virginia, there is Santa Claus letter, but I surely wouldn't do anything more than that. Your sister should be more worried about 13-year-old finding a baby in the Cabbage Patch than leaving milk and cookies for a man in a red suit. OP says, the weird thing is, my sister is very sex-positive parent. My nieces know all about sex, birth control and stuff like that, so sex is okay when they're ready for it, but Santa Claus not being real is a horrible thing. OP then edited the post and said, so my niece sent me a text from school asking why her mum was mad at me. I said it was over the whole Santa thing, and she said, that's stupid, who still believes in Santa? So yeah, I called my sister out on this whole BS situation, and for making up lies to try and make me feel bad. She called my parents crying, so my parents told me the standard line of me being the bigger person, and patched things up. Not this time. I told them to quit sticking their noses into arguments that has nothing to do with them. But honestly, I'm so pissed they can all fuck off for a while. I'm not responding to anyone unless I get an apology. Edit 2, Crazy Town. So this looks like a series of texts between the sister and OP or a conversation. The sister said, I can't believe you responded to niece after I told you not to talk to her. It's disrespectful to me. OP said, you mean you're just upset you got caught in a lie? She said it wasn't a lie. It was a justified exaggeration to prove a point. OP says, what fucking point? Sister says that your words and actions on Facebook have consequences. OP responds saying, let me get this straight. You won't let me talk to nieces because I posted a meme about Santa not existing, even though they don't believe in Santa anymore. Sister says, what if they were younger? OP says they aren't. What the fuck kind of logic is that? Sister says, I can't talk to you when you're being unreasonable and refuse to see the point. OP says, okay, good luck with that. When you're ready to apologize, you can send me a message. Sister says, what the fuck do I have to apologize for? I don't even know why you're upset when I'm the only one with the right to be upset here. OP says, figure it out. Then OP adds edit 3 and says, this isn't normal behavior for my sister. I reached out to my brother-in-law and he says he's been concerned the past few days. It's been like a switch was flipped and she started acting nuts. He's going to make her an appointment with their doctor. It might just be stress. It never hurts to check it out. And I think a lot of people must have asked that question about, is this normal behavior for sister? Because it's a good one, because to suddenly switch up like that is concerning. So it's good for OP to reach out to brother-in-law and talk about this. But OP did come in with her update and says, to summarize the last post, I posted a Ryan Reynolds meme about Santa Claus not being real on Facebook, which my 13-year-old niece saw. My sister flipped out about it and wanted me to publicly rescind and say how Santa is real. But I thought my nieces were too old to believe in that stuff and refused. It led to a crazy fight between us. Anyway, I talked to my nieces and neither of them believe in Santa, so they were baffled about the fight. I talked to my brother-in-law and he said my sister had been flying off the handle lately. We agreed she should probably get a checkup and he convinced her to go to the doctor. On to the update. They did an MRI and nothing showed up. They did some blood work which looked fine except some elevated cholesterol. She isn't pregnant, they pretty much wrote her off as a crazy person and sent her to a psychologist for stress. After a session, the psychologist told her to do some deep breathing and sent her away as fixed. She got worse. She stopped sleeping and barely ate, yet still gained weight. Any small annoyance would send her into a rage. Commercials were making her so upset she would ugly cry. I asked my brother-in-law if they tested hormone levels or anything like that, and he said the doctors didn't feel it was necessary. She called me one day crying and apologizing, saying she was the worst sister ever and had every right to hate her. She was so devastated she ruined our relationship and such. It was weird and not my sister. So when I got a chance to speak, I told her she was going to see my doctor and I wasn't taking no for an answer. I set up an appointment. My doctor ordered a full blood panel including hormone and vitamins before my sister drove to town for her appointment. When my sister drove up, we spent the morning shopping and she was unpredictable. One minute she was happy and the next yelling about some perceived sight. That fucking pretentious makeup counter bitch just looked at me funny for my cheap drugstore makeup. It was uncomfortable, so I just walked on eggshells to keep her from exploding. Anyway, results of the blood work and a good doctor. Perimenopause. Her hormones are completely abnormal. None of her doctors would even consider it because she was too young for menopause. So they didn't even bother running the tests. She'll be coming up with a care plan with my doctor for hormone replacement therapy and diet change to hopefully get back on track. She's still a nutcase right now. For example, she called me crying the other night because she will never have more kids. What? Her husband had a vasectomy years ago. I'm driving to her place next weekend and we're going to batch cook a bunch of meals for a new diet plan. I'll be doing it with her as I could stand to eat healthier. So it'll be a slow process, but we have a diagnosis and plan. I'm just taking her outbursts as crazy hormones right now because it'll take a while to even out. I got her a dark chocolate cake for Easter that said, "Happy Reverse Easter," when the Easter Bunny takes back your eggs, because I'm a kind of jerk. She thought it was hilarious though, so we're good. Edits, remove the comment about being bipolar, though my sister has professionally diagnosed bipolarism and does have wildly swinging moods within minutes sometimes, though usually a manic high or low last weeks. It wasn't my intention to slur a group of people. My sister was acting very much like my sister-in-law can act sometimes, so it was the best reference I could make. I apologize for offending anybody. Shakate says, I got her dark chocolate and quoted that section and says, "This is the best thing ever. So glad you figured it out. Good for you for realizing she was totally out of whack and helping her get back on track. Good luck." Opie says, well, like I said, it wasn't abnormal for teenage sister. She was a huge drama queen back then. It was abnormal for 36-year-old sister. I guess she's just sensitive to hormone fluctuations. And I'm so glad that brother-in-law and sister did realize something was going on and took steps to correct it. Really pissed me off that it got minimized the first time around because that's absolutely frustrating. But you sound like an amazing person, OP. Keep being amazing for your sister, but look after yourself at the same time, of course. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from One Time Advice Request and says, I, male 27, found a video of my girlfriend, female 26, and I'm struggling with it. How do I approach this? Just a warning before we do get into this story, if you do want to skip it for any reason, it contains verbal and emotional abuse and assault as well. It starts, English is not my primary language, so apologies if the spelling or grammar are off. This account is a throwaway for privacy and names are not real. I've been in a relationship with Kat, female 26, for a little over 2 years. Extremely satisfied with the relationship. She is just what I didn't know I needed. Small arguments here and there, but the kind that gets sorted with a talk or 2 hours after once we cool down a bit. She really liked the photo montage I did of our vacation, so I was thinking on doing one from since she was born, until the first photo we will take when she moves in with me in February, when her lease will end. From that I needed old photos of her, so I asked her saying it was for a project. She gave me an external hard drive, said the folder marked Memories would be filled with all her photos, but they'd be out of order, and there would be photos with her ex-boyfriend from a summer trip they did overseas that she kept for the memories of the trip itself. Yesterday I sat down to start checking the photos. There are a lot of them, and they're all out of a specific order, so I was just picking at random. As I was scrolling down I saw a folder in the middle of the images. Weird name. It had a few brackets and random numbers with letters, but showed it had content in it. I opened it. 2 images, and 1 video. The images were a screenshot of some shoes on a shopping app and a selfie with a thumb covering the half of the lens. Then I get the photo. Short, 53 seconds. First 7 or 8 seconds is someone fumbling with what I expect to be a phone. Then the camera moves down and it is Kat's back, naked. With the movements and sounds, it is obvious that it is her having sex with someone. To be clear, this is not proof of cheating. She's had a back tattoo to which she's been adding through the years. On the video, it is less complete than when I met her, and her hair is very short. Checking my other photos, I would say she was either 18 or 19 years old at the time. Now, we both know that neither of us was a virgin when we met. Still, it's a bit unsettling to me to get that knowledge imprinted on my brain with visual aids. Of course, she's not doing anything wrong, but there are 3 things running wild on my mind. First, she was wearing what I can only describe as crotchless panties with a bunny tail to the side. At one point I could see what it looked like a small whip, similar to what the jockeys use. She never showed any inclination for this kind of thing with me. But what is really bothering me is that at one point I can see her right wrist has a handcuff, the kind with fluffy pink hair around, with the other handcuff open at the side. This is bothering me because she absolutely hates to be held in any way by her wrists. First time I did it during sex, she literally tensed and froze on the spot to the point I stopped what I was doing to check on her. She told me to never do it again. I actually told her to give me a safe word that night, so that if I ever did anything that she wasn't comfortable, just say the word and I stop. Fortunately, never had to use it to this day. Now my mind is trying to make sense of it, and I'm getting concerned that she doesn't trust me for some reason. At least not to the point she seems to have trusted this guy. Second, the existence of the video itself. She loves taking photos, but nothing overly sexual. Just some sexy outfits, but even those aren't what I would call too much skin. She's actually pretty flirty and sometimes inappropriate when texting or speaking over the phone, but she told me once to forget any nudes or videos. She won't send them nor let me take them. Really don't mind. I'd rather see everything live, and now I see a video. Third, and what is bothering me the most, I'm almost 100% sure the guy is a friend of hers. Mark, male 26. At the end of the video, when he goes to shut the recording, he pointed the camera to his wrist. There is a tattoo that is the same as Mark's. I highly doubt she met 2 guys with the same tattoo in the same place, and they've been friends since first year of college, so it matches the time frame. This is not someone that I'm going to say, oh, they are BFFs, they are always together, spend time alone in their apartments. They see each other maybe once a month when their group gathers for dinner or drinks. I actually go with them more often than not. I've been going crazy trying to replay their interactions, looking for any signs that I may have missed or something other than friendship, but honestly, I'm coming up empty. He also has a girlfriend, and he looks at her the same way I look at mine. I don't expect Kat to tell me every hookup and relationship she had in the past, but with someone that she sees with some regularity, I would expect a heads up of some sort. Specifically because it seems more than just a casual thing. Looking at all the setup. This is driving me mad. My actual brain knows she has done nothing wrong and that I'm probably overreacting, but my body stress response right now is through the roof. I know that I need to speak to her tomorrow, before I let this pen up more. Already had a bad night's sleep. Tonight I don't expect it to be better, and I'm concerned that having this conversation without a clear mind actually causes issues that I really don't want to have, and honestly, I'm a bit scared to go deeper into this rabbit hole. Jesus, what a rant this has become. Sorry for the wall of text. Seems I had more to vent than I thought. How do I approach this conversation tomorrow? Edit. Now, maybe my English isn't as good as I hope because I honestly do not understand the amount of people with the idea that I want to do BDSM with my girlfriend and that I'm salty about she's doing it with someone else. Never did. It's not something I can see enjoying, so I would only do it to an extent if I was asked. My issue is, if she's interested in this, why doesn't she approach the subject in a 2-year relationship? And it doesn't help the matter that this doesn't seem to be an ex but one of her friends, which either is in fact an ex and she hid that from me when we talked about past relationships in the beginning of her own, or had a friends with benefits situation, or whatever else happened there. It's the not having context of the video that is causing my mind spinning, and that is why I need to speak with her before the dam bursts, and that is why I reached out for advice, to at least not making this shit worse than it already is. And no, I didn't go through her phone to get pictures. I asked for pictures. She gave an external hard drive and told me in which folder to get them. The hard drive had other folders. I didn't open them. The video was inside a strangely named folder inside the memories folder. I'm talking to her tonight, after she comes back from work. She already knows something is not right. I couldn't sleep yesterday, and she came back to see why I wasn't in bed that late. This morning, she checked on me. You're not yourself the last 2 days. Is there something going on? I just told her that I'm feeling stressed without an apparent reason and not to worry. No point in a conversation before she leaves for work. Can't say that I'll update this today after we talk, as I don't think I have the mind for that, but I guess I'll eventually say something. For now, I'm going offline. And it definitely sounds like just a mature, albeit, pretty awkward conversation is needed in this situation. For me in this, it doesn't feel like she's out to hurt you or do anything of the sort, that she's handed over an external hard drive. It just sounds like she may have forgotten about that folder being in there, especially if she's just, they're all out of order. She's just dumping photos. Probably, when she's finished with her phone, she probably just gets all the photos, chucks it in a folder. I mean, that's what I do. I got thousands of photos from past phones and I don't know what the hell is on them. I have to go through them one day. It could be a good laugh. And we covered a bit of a similar story, but it was the opposite way around. It was the wife or girlfriend who found photos on her partner's phone. And he done something similar and just had loads of photos on his phone and just totally forgot about it. And when she discovered them, she was pretty distraught as well. But the top comment on this one says, it's normal for it to feel bad finding evidence of your partner's sex life before you. Even if they didn't do anything wrong. Even if you knew it had happened. Nobody wants to actually see that or think about it any more than necessary. Don't beat yourself up about feeling bad about it. Only she can tell you why she did those things with him, but not with you. But from the little explanation you gave, I'd say it's most likely A, either she tried it with him and hated it, or had a terrible experience and never want to do it again. Or B, she never wanted to try it but convinced herself or had someone convince her she had to do it for him. But she didn't want to or had a bad experience. Either way, it's much more likely that she actually trusts you not to push her boundaries, and less likely that she doesn't trust you enough to let you grab her wrists. The worst thing you can do now is overthink this. She gave you the drive, you stumbled across a video. Shit happens. You should be able to talk to her about this. You can ask who the guy is. You can ask about the kink stuff. You can ask. She should be able to have a mature, if extremely awkward, conversation about it, depending on the situation with point 2. She may not want to answer all the questions, but you should be able to have enough of a conversation to quiet your concerns a bit. Honestly, I've had super uncomfortable conversations with my partners about things I've heard, seen, or thought that made me insecure. They suck. They're awkward, but they're important. Whether or not she can have a conversation with you about that is way more important than the actual circumstances of the video. Bonus point 4. People change as they get older, and that includes taste in sex. Not everyone who wears ripped skinny jeans at 18 will want to wear them at 26. It is normal for people to experiment with things or even enjoy things when they're younger that they want nothing to do with as they get older. The most likely reality is that it has nothing at all to do with you. Good luck. Keep your chin up. Remember, she doesn't have to be with you. And if she's regularly banging you, it's because she wants to. Don't get it in your head. The OP came in with her update and said, some people have asked for an update, so I guess this will be it. I'd like to thank all the people that gave actual advice on what I asked on my post instead of judging me for whatever reason they found worthy of judgment. The advice of listening to her instead of turning the conversation into interrogation that was pointed to me by several people prevented me to actually complicate our talk, for those that just want an outcome. After our talk, I feel like I got what I needed to gain a solid footing and we're still together. Not going to pretend that it's all roses and sunshine. There is some trust that needs to be rebuilt and I still need to process the image of the video. It is still fresh, so my brain keeps pushing it forward, but I feel that I just need some time to let my brain shake it off. The original post was long, this update might be as well. She read this before I posted, so all I've written was with her consent. Got a call from an old friend of mine to check up on me because my girlfriend had called him worried about my behavior over the last 2 days. When I said it was something that I would need to talk to her, he said, that's fine, just remember that Kat is not Mary, an ex of mine. Don't bring that baggage with you. If you have an issue, talk it out, but don't put on your girlfriend someone else's blame. It was like a light switch that flipped. I'd been so freaked out that I didn't even realize that a lot of what I was feeling was past trauma that was being brought up front and boosting my reactions. basically afraid of going through something similar again. When she got home, she was already wanting to speak with me. I told her that if she wanted to take a shower, I would make some tea and we would talk. I told her that I loved her. I wasn't accusing her of anything or mad at her. I was going through something and she was the only one I could speak that could help me move past it. That I needed her to be honest and not try to hide things from me. When she agreed, I just asked, "When you gave me the external hard drive for me to get those photos, were you aware that there is a video of you and someone that I think is Mark having sex?" "That's not possible. I deleted that years ago." That is what she said before breaking down in tears. She hugged me and I hugged back by instinct mostly. In between the sobbing and crying, she begged me to not get mad and let her explain. I repeated that I wasn't mad. I would hear what she wanted to say. She just needed to be honest with me. Once she calmed down, she told me that it happened around 3 weeks after her 19th birthday. She'd broken up with her high school boyfriend about 2 months prior. They were both pretty drunk, hanging out at her apartment living room after a night out, and then things just escalated into physical. She said the next morning they both felt extremely self-conscious about the whole thing. Mark was really freaked out that she might think he had taken advantage of her because she had a recent breakup. She was concerned that Mark had feelings for her because she only saw him as a friend. They ended up agreeing that it was just a drunken hookup that none of them wanted to follow up on. At one point, Mark asked her if she remembered making a video. They checked both their phones and there was a video and photo on her phone that she deleted then. She never saw them again and believed them to be gone. According to her, they avoided each other for the next couple of months because of the awkwardness and nothing else happened. I'd been watching her while she spoke. She kept eye contact while speaking, seemed tense but nothing unexpected. All in all, I saw no reason not to believe her. The handcuffs and all, joke birthday gift from her girlfriends. It just happened to be there when they went to the room and they thought it would be fun to open the set. We only talked about this yesterday. At the time, I had more pressing questions. As for not telling me in the first place. When she started dating her ex, Mark was out of the country, so she never mentioned that happening to her ex. When Mark came back, her ex was already showing signs of being jealous and controlling without much reason, so she decided to not throw gasoline into the fire. Mark started dating a girl and mentioned that they had been together once a long time ago because she asked. His girlfriend told her ex-boyfriend in the middle of a group outing. Her ex exploded. She ended up breaking up with him. Things went a bit out of control to the verge of harassment/stalking. Mark's relationship imploded sometime later because the girl saw Kat breaking up with her ex as proof that she has feelings for you and became a bit crazy. She never told me because in the beginning she wasn't sure how I'd react and was afraid I went her ex's path. And by the time she figured out I wouldn't go that path, it had been so long that she just let it go. She apologized and admitted that was a bad call on her part and should have told me and let me decide how comfortable I was with it. When she spoke about her ex being abusive, I gently asked if he was the reason for her issue with being held by the wrists. He wasn't. He was verbally and psychologically abusive but was never physical. It was someone else after she broke up with her ex, someone that belonged to her friends group. Apparently had a secret crush on her, was drunk at a party. They were alone in a small balcony and she friend-zoned him when he proposed. He got close, she placed her hands on his chest to try and stop him, and he held her by the wrists and pinned her against the wall. One of her friends saw it through the window and helped. The guy was cut off by the friends group and the last time she knew, he left to work somewhere else. Still, she was aware that if they were alone it might have been a lot worse, and when I did it to her it was just a response to the memory. Also, this actually explained some behaviors of hers when we started dating. She looked like she needed time to make sure she was comfortable to be alone with me. Now I know why. After this, I was drained. Well, I guess anyone that actually read this far will be as well. I went silent for a good while, just replaying everything. She came to me, held my hands and apologized again. She said she couldn't make what I saw disappear, but it was really in the past and she just needed me to tell her what else she could do to make things easier for me. Honestly, at that point, my brain was shot. Then she did something that caught me completely off guard. She called Mark on the phone, placed him on loudspeaker while motioning me to be quiet and asked him if he could speak or was close to his girlfriend. His reply was, "That's an odd thing to ask. I'm alone. Is something wrong?" She told him that I'd seen the video. Basically, the entirety of the conversation confirmed everything she told me. I didn't say anything, so he didn't know I was listening. After freaking out with, "I saw you delete that shit," he referred to it as a one-time meaningless thing and a drunk hookup that keeps coming back to haunt us. Was also worried I would tell his girlfriend like, "my crazy ex." So after all this, she asked me if I needed space, but I told her I wanted her near. If she didn't want to be with me in bed, I could sleep in my study, but she wanted to be close as well. We spent yesterday together. Didn't go to the party as it was planned. Talked and just kept each other close. She and Mark will take a break on their friendship. He told his girlfriend, but she took it better than me. But they decided some distance is better at this point. My girlfriend also offered to only go out with the group with me present, regardless of Mark being there or not. Other than that, I just asked her to give me some time and try not to initiate sex for now. I want to be completely clear-minded and release this stress that built up before that. This is it. It's gonna take some time, but I feel like I have the ground under my feet, so I'm optimistic. I think that now, after talking it out, I just need a bit of time to let it settle. The top comment on this one says, if it keeps coming back to haunt them, they should break off their friendship for good instead of taking breaks. And there was a mix of comments below this one. Some people saying they're glad that they was able to work it out. Others saying, it wasn't his business to be going through that folder in the first place. He was looking for photos, why'd he open the video, etc. Other people saying, her sexual history is just none of his business. And other people saying about, her history, that she's not to blame for any of this. So why does he need all this time when, she's done nothing wrong? This is just her history. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from Substantial T 4119, titled, Am I the Arsehole for Ignoring the Groomsman? This happened at a wedding I was a bridesmaid at a few weeks ago. I, 35 female, have never been married, no kids, and more than likely will be the last of my friend group to get married. I've been a bridesmaid too many times to count. Almost always I get paired off with another single guy. My family and friends treat this as an attempt to hook me up with the other single guy. They think it will be so romantic if we tell our grandkids who we met at a wedding. I've never been interested in these guys. At the last wedding I was at, I was paired off with the groom's 42-year-old stepbrother. Off the bat, I wasn't interested in Dave. If I were to see his profile on a dating app, I would immediately swipe left. Back to this wedding. I get through the ceremony and I'm now at the reception. I run into some old friends I haven't seen in a long time and didn't know they would be in town. So we spent the night together catching up and covertly watching a Googling, Vegas Golden Knights ice hockey team. Watching a VGK game someone was streaming on their phone. The bride came up to me and asked if I wanted to sit with Dave. He was alone at a table and wanted to get to know me better. I told her sorry, I wasn't interested, and went back to talking with my friends. If Dave wanted to talk to me, well, he's a grown man and can do it himself. I spent the night hanging out with my friends, having a great time, and didn't think much of it until a few weeks later, I see the bride at a party, and she doesn't even greet me. She just tells me that I was a B for ignoring Dave. Apparently he thought I was cute and wanted to get to know me better. He just couldn't because he struggles with social cues. At least I could have just saw him for a few minutes and be nice to him. First off, I'm sick of being nice just to make a man happy. I told her that I was just there to be a bridesmaid, not to be a minder for a middle-aged man. She still called me out for being a rude, stuck-up B. Was I the arsehole, or was the bride being out of line? One more thing. A few months before the wedding, I started to see a guy I met at a conference. I never told anyone because I wasn't sure if the relationship would last at the time. I don't plan on telling anyone until we hit a milestone because there would be some pushback. It's an international long-distance relationship. Even if I was single, I'm still not interested in Dave. That's such a... I'm trying to imagine that situation where you're just stood there catching up, chatting with friends, having a good time, and Dave sat over there at a table just waiting for you and... Can you send her over, please? I would like to meet her. It's just weird. Sounds like there's some kind of speed dating event going on there. Then for the bride to get upset about it and still be upset about it weeks later just shows how she doesn't really care about OP's feelings or comfort. Absolutely not the arsehole in any way, shape or form. It's just such a weird thing. The first commenter said to this, indeed, you were not nor should have been a minder for a middle-aged man. If Dave thought you were cute and wanted to spend time with you, he could have opened his mouth and said so. Imagine if you ended up dating or marrying Dave. Then you could be his social coordinator and handholder, possibly for the rest of your life. Doesn't that sound like a plan? Sarcasm. If you've been told being a date with Dave was the bride's expectation of you as a member of the bridal party, you could have saved yourself money and time and excused yourself from the whole event. Not the arsehole. Opie replies saying, if I had known I would have to babysit an underemployed 42-year-old man who is twice my size, I would have dropped out of bridesmaid detail and then retired from the position. The bad agent says not the arsehole, but the bride certainly is. You're not an escort meant to keep him company. Tell the bride to hire him one if she's so invested in him having company. Another user says, not the arsehole, there's nothing inherently wrong with introducing two single people who might hit it off. But let it go if they're not interested. This is so weird. Your friend needs to chill and back off. That being said, some of the things you're saying about him on here are kind of mean. You didn't have to be interested, but you didn't have to be cruel either. I hope you didn't say these things to his face. That would definitely make you the arsehole. The Veggie Whisperer says in quotes, apparently he thought I was cute and wanted to get to know me better. He just couldn't because he struggles with social cues. And then says, the age-old trope. Because you're single and 35, you must want any man on earth, and anyone who tries to set you up is doing you the world's biggest favor. The entitled bride is treating your time like some kind of charity project for the benefit of an adult man who clearly hasn't grown up. You are not the arsehole on any level. You had a great evening with your friends, and you didn't want to be set up with rando number 50 just because you two happened to be the last two fish in the fucking barrel. Unfortunately, a lot of people have no respect for single women. Our time or our energy. MD's theme park says not the arsehole. Your friend sounds obnoxious and it sounds like bride promised you to Dave and was left in a bad spot. That's on them. You're under no obligation to like or even entertain advances from people just because you were single. You need to have a firm discussion with your friends about this behavior and ask them to stop. Thank them for caring about you, but assure them you're not in need of help dating and will ask if it's wanted. As for the long-distance relationship, as someone who works in a profession that sees the harm of romance scams, please be careful. Good luck. So a year later, OP came back into the post with her update and says, hello, I made a post about a year ago about a wedding I was at where I ignored the groomsman who wanted to hook up with me. It didn't get much attention, but the comments were all pretty life-affirming. I've been going through a pretty hard time for a few years now. It's frustrating to see your friends find that one and settle down while you're still struggling to navigate your 30s alone. Especially when you're from a family and part of a country where if a woman isn't married with kids by a certain age, something must be wrong with her. My family and friends mean well, but they don't always see how their actions hurt me. Dave did try to reach out to me after the wedding, but I just blocked him. I haven't seen him since, nor do I care to know what he's up to. I stopped talking to the bride. I really didn't appreciate the name calling or being expected to babysit a middle-aged man. Anyway, I wanted to update on the story so I can close out that part of my life. After the wedding, I made it clear to everyone, I'm done being a bridesmaid. I'm officially retired. If you're getting married, good for you. I'm not going to be a bridesmaid. Not even for an all-expenses-paid bachelor trip to Cancun. I think the fact that I was getting drunk and watching a hockey game with friends at the reception said it all. I'm just burned out from going to too many weddings. That retirement became official over the summer. I'd mentioned that I was in a long-distance relationship. It didn't work out, but it did introduce me to a pretty big career opportunity. I spent a pretty big chunk of 2024 applying for this gig, waiting to see if I got hired, and when I did, close out my life in America. I'm now living in Australia, at a job I love, and being able to be my own person. I cut my hair, I got some tattoos, I found a hobby I love. I have new friends who run on the same vibe. I don't think I'm going to get married. If I do, that's great, but at my age, I don't think kids are in my future anymore. And you know what? I'm starting to accept it. My family doesn't, but I have siblings with kids so my parents can spoil them. I think I just needed to get away from a really restrictive place in order to find my own happiness. Thanks guys, I really needed this advice in my life. Still love the VGK, and now I can rep them from down under. And after all that, I just felt like good for OP. What an amazing outcome for them that they're getting to find themselves. If you're happy being single, absolutely good for you. Enjoy your life, enjoy your friends, enjoy your new hobbies. It almost just felt like OP was stuck, almost like in a sitcom where everyone still knows each other and it's all the same friend groups, etc., and nothing really changes. I mean, it might not be the case, but whatever it is, I'm glad that OP is finding some happiness, absolutely. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Although I have to say, I was a little bit curious what Dave was going to say on the phone. Now, our next story comes from Technical Cause 4323 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit and says, "Am I the arsehole for telling my wife she's perfect the way she is after she gave birth a month ago, which resulted in her lashing onto me? Being married to my wife for 2 years. I'm 24 and she's 26. After she got pregnant, she always would find fault in every little thing she did or I did. Constantly complains about everything. It started during her second trimester and didn't stop but got worse. I always was by her side and comforted her and she would calm down for our baby. But yesterday she had a breakdown. She was sobbing so much when I went to her and asked her what's wrong. She took her clothes off and screamed, 'Look at me and look at my belly.' I gave her a hug and told her that it's a bit different now, but certainly will get better. Just give it some time. I said I love her the way she is and our bodies change over time, but my love towards her never will fade because I love her for who she is, not her body. She screamed at me and said, why am I pitying her? Am I enjoying the way she is and her body is? Do I want an ugly wife? I said you got it all wrong and hugged her. She grabbed my collar and aggressively kissed me. I didn't like it, but I went with it for her. She said that I'm not allowed to sleep with her tonight. She loves me, but if I were to say something like this again, she'll punch me. I tried stopping her and explained myself, but she didn't listen to me and grabbed our baby and went to sleep. I didn't bother her by going to our bedroom despite wanting to see my baby for my wife's sake, but now I'm wondering if I said something wrong. I just wanted to comfort her, not insult her. I didn't mean to hurt her, but she took it as if I was making fun of her or putting up with her. So am I the arsehole? I don't even understand what I did wrong here. Secret Sister Sarah says not the arsehole. Sounds like she either has postpartum rage or postpartum psychosis. Either way, she needs psychiatric help now. She was violent towards you and her mood swings could pose a threat to you, herself, and the baby. Anxious Telephone says, is she seeing a psychiatrist and or psychologist right now? The hormone roller coaster during and after pregnancy is wild and can truly cause some women to lose their minds and or wills to live. Postpartum psychosis and depression are debilitating. She sounds like she needs professional help for her sake and for your baby's sake as well. Opie says no she isn't, but after the way she reacted I'm scared and don't really know how to bring it up to her. Anxious replies saying incredibly fair. She seems very volatile right now. That's something you could reach out to your family care doctor about and ask them for their advice on the matter. But I will urge you to do so. This is a matter of safety for everyone involved, including yourself. OP responded saying I'm not really concerned about my safety. I'm more so concerned about my wife's and my baby's. My priority is always to take care and think of them first. I know my wife wouldn't harm our baby because she always talks and thinks about her. She wakes up in multiple times in the middle of the night to check up on our baby and spends most of her time with our baby to keep our baby close in her arms all day. She loves our baby to death. She probably loves our baby more than she loves me, and I'm so grateful. But you're right. I should talk to our family doctor, to talk to my wife, or even see a counselor as to how to bring the idea of seeking professional help to my wife, because now I think she's not well, and make sure she doesn't get worse. I'm now thinking of just taking a few weeks leave and care for her, and keep seeking options to get her help. Meds, therapy, or whatever it is. I'm so concerned after the way she acted. I know she loves me and I love her as well. Iola says the phrase loving someone to death, while in the majority of the time is hyperbole, comes from the fact that some people have killed someone because they love them so much. That because they couldn't trust anyone else with them. Or where there has been murder/suicide. It's not always a protective fact you seem to think it is. This doesn't mean your wife is suffering with psychosis, but it is a scary thing for both her and those who love her. Please seek help. So OP came in with her update and said I'm thankful for everyone's advice. It's the first time for me that my wife is reacting the way she is, and it's also the first time for her to give birth and see her body change so drastically. But when I was reading the comments, I saw so many people suggested that I should leave because my wife said she would punch me. I don't think it's a good idea for me to run away and leave my love and my baby behind to tend for themselves. Anyway, I'm focused on comments about helping her as soon as possible for her and our baby's sake. I don't know much about PPD or psychosis, but no matter, I'm willing to take a punch from her if it calms her down. Normally she wouldn't say that, and I don't think it's abuse. I think she's just suffering. After reading all the comments, I decided to call my mother-in-law. I explained to her everything and what my wife said. My mother-in-law said, "Why didn't tell her sooner? Why did I wait?" I said, "I'm sorry." She said, "Don't apologize. She's flying to us, but it will take her a while, so I should try my best to comfort her." Last time I tried to comfort her about her body, but this time I thought it would be best if I talked to her about our love and how much we love our baby. I went to her and she was playing with our baby, and when she saw me, she asked me, "What do I want?" I said, "Can we hug each other for a while?" She said yes. We both hugged each other and held our baby together. I expressed my love to her. I told her how much I love her, and she and our baby are most important for me, my priority. She and our baby is my everything. And I said I'm sorry, and I want to be in her and our baby's life till I die and do everything I can for them. Her and our baby's health and well-being is what I think about all the time. My wife started crying, and I just didn't say anything, just hugged me and cried. But after I told her that she should put our baby to sleep first, she calmed down. After our baby fell asleep, I comforted her more. She didn't say anything at all and just kept crying and hugging me on the couch. I kept telling her that I love her and will always do, and no matter what, I will always be by her side to help her, and I know she loves me. She was silent, but I was kissing her forehead and face, and eventually she fell asleep and still sleeping by my side. I text my mother-in-law about everything and will do if there's a drastic change in my wife's behavior. I told her that she shouldn't tell my wife that I talked to her, and I'm texting because I don't want my wife to wake up and know about it all. My mother-in-law said she knows what to do, but I should take care of her until she arrives. So yeah, that's all that's happened. I'm going to stay awake until my mother-in-law arrives and helps my wife if she needs help. Meanwhile, I will read more and educate myself. I'm happy that she's sleeping peacefully. Posting this once again for advice, I would appreciate it. I decided to not involve doctors yet until my mother-in-law arrives, and like others said, she will know what to do. The first commenter said to OP and quoted the part saying I decided to not involve doctors yet until my mother-in-law arrives, and like others said, she will know what to do, and then said, "Your whole post is good until this part. Absolutely get the doctors involved. You do not need to be relying on hopes and dreams to get your wife treatment. Please get her to talk to a professional." Mark Ann says, "Agree with this completely. As a nurse, I can tell you that postpartum depression and or psychosis is not something to muck about with. I hate to say this, but she needs to be evaluated. It's possible that she may recover in a week, but there is no way to know for sure with her behavior being this drastically changed. It is not worth the risk." Lee Savannah says, "You're doing your best to support her, which is really important. Just remember, reaching out to a professional might help both you and your wife get through this challenging time even more effectively. You're not alone in this, and seeking help can make a big difference." Opie says, No, a professional therapist is a necessity at this point for both of us. Forget about me, it's necessary for her. But I thought it's better if I followed my mother-in-law's advice yesterday. Yesterday, my wife lashed out on me. Today, she said, do what I want. Calling a doctor is not a problem. It just takes a call and a bit of money, and I don't care about it. But the thing is, she might get angry and start overthinking, and I want to avoid that for her health. She's currently sleeping peacefully, and my mother-in-law said she knows what to do, and just wait unless it's an emergency. So I decided to wait and let her sleep peacefully. Not that I don't want her to get help from a professional. It's I don't know how to bring it up to her, and I want her to sleep unless it's an emergency, of course. Her mother knows way more than I and my wife do, and I decided to trust her judgment and wait. And there was a mix of other comments on this. Some people agreeing, to get professionals involved immediately. Other people saying that they think OP is right to wait for mother-in-law because, it is just the two of them. And if the wife reacts badly to OP bringing up professionals, etc., it could cause more damage. And with the mother-in-law there, it just makes things that little bit more secure. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, the next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from webpage, which says, am I the arsehole to skip my parents' annual Christmas tree tradition because I'm 6 months pregnant and want to start new traditions of our own? I'm a 33-year-old first-time mum. My husband, 34, and I are expecting our first baby, and I'm 6 months pregnant. I'm the oldest of 4 kids, and every year my parents would take us 45 minutes into the mountains to cut down a Christmas tree from their friend's Christmas tree farm. It's been a family tradition for as long as I can remember. Rain or shine, we'd be up there the first week of December doing this. I never particularly enjoyed the tradition personally. It's usually freezing cold, wet, and this particular Christmas tree is kind of boring, in my opinion, because it's so remote and they don't offer any amenities like some of the other tree farms in the area do. For example, think fire pits, activities for small children, hot cocoa, wreath making, etc. It's just very bare bones. My parents like it because it's their friend's place and we've gone every year and they don't like change. Since marrying my husband 8 years ago, I've gone along with this tradition even though my husband and I both dislike it, and we find it to be a thing that my dad guilts us into going along with. My younger siblings, none of them have kids, also kind of guilt trip me by saying like, none of us like it but we just do it for dad. Why are you being an arsehole? This year my husband is really asking me to put my foot down and break away from this tradition so that we can start our own tradition for our daughter. Something that we actually look forward to and that is more kid friendly. There are some lovely tree farms in our area, North California, that are very kid friendly and that we'd like to check out. I offered to my parents, hey, how about we try this other tree farm because it has stuff for kids and fire pits and stuff, and I think that could be a fun change. And they said, no, our tradition is to go to Joey's place. My dad is sending texts like, come on, this is a tradition I cherish, and it's only an hour of your time. What's the big deal? My sisters are sending texts like, if you want to try another farm, then just do both. What's your problem? Just do it for dad. The thing is though, it's not an hour of my time. It's 45 minutes from our house to the farm, 45 minutes back, a couple of hours at the farm, and it's an experience my husband and I never particularly enjoy for a variety of reasons. We'd really like to scope out a more fun and kid-friendly place to bring our daughter to. My parents have always been loving parents who mean well, so have no real complaints about how they raised me, which is part of why this makes it so hard for me to say no to them. Am I the arsehole for declining to continue this family of origin Christmas tradition now that I'm having children of my own? My family says I am. What do you all think? Miss Sin says not the arsehole, especially being 6 months pregnant. Seems like a trek, and then when you have a kid, what will you want to do? That said, what are the other family traditions? Is this the only one that's important, or are there other ones coming up for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day? Why do I ask? I hated traveling with kids on the 12/24 and 12/25. So if I could give up actual Christmas Day drama by having a family day earlier to get a tree, good trade-off. My kids wanted us to stay home on Christmas Day and open gifts and play with gifts. Cool whoever wants to join us, but traveling with kids that day was not fun for any of us. So think about this day, other days, both families. What do you want to do and how do you include your families as appropriate? Go from there. Hope you replied saying this is great advice, to think about this for the future. I agree that hauling a baby or a kid around on Christmas Day would not be fun for us or them. Rick Russell says not the arsehole. OP, slow down, stop all this. You and your husband are your own family. If you prefer to do something different, don't negotiate, don't argue, don't justify, don't defend yourself, don't explain. Say, Hubs and I have decided to do something different this year. Have fun and send me the photos. By focusing on nitpicky details like amenities, distance, etc., you're basically saying, here are my reasons, now start arguing with me and tell me why my reasons suck. Stop doing that. It's exhausting. You don't need to justify yourself. Not this year, but thank you for asking is all you need to say. Who Fears Death says, why are you trying to get adults to go to a location with kid-friendly activities when the only kid will still be in your uterus? If you don't want to go, don't. Quit trying to center yourself in the tradition because think of the kids when she's not even here yet. Firefly Browncoat says, you're the arsehole. I think you're being disingenuous framing this as wanting to start your own traditions when there's nothing stopping you from doing both. You just think it's boring and you don't feel like doing it anymore, which is understandable. But sometimes the red advice tends to be black and white. Don't do anything you don't feel like doing ever, not even for someone you love. Real life is more complicated and nuanced than that, And while it's true that it's within your rights to say no, ask yourself if skipping the tradition and not spending just a few hours with your family is worth making your dad sad over, something that clearly means so much to him. As someone who's lost a parent, one day you might look back on this and wish you chose differently. El Lardo replied to that saying, "I can't believe it took this long to find a you're the arsehole response, which you are. As you're about to find out, your dad has spent 33 years doing things for his children that were boring. Not what he wanted to do and not where he wanted to be. He's asking for one thing around Christmas that is important to him. Why does it matter? It makes him happy. You could choose not to do this thing for him and maybe it would be justified, but as nothing in your post indicated that he was or is a bad parent, it would make you the arsehole." And another comment, because this one's got an everyone sucks here. I wanted the whole three, the big trio. Another one says, I have to go with everyone sucks here. You clearly aren't into this tradition and it's okay to push back to the point of not going if you really don't like it. Sounds frustrating that your family isn't listening to you. That said, it's a little disingenuous to say it's because you want to start a new Christmas tradition. I have 3 little kids, 2 separated parents and a pair of in-laws. We have traditions with each parts of our family plus traditions for just the 5 of us. It's not a zero-sum game and you can create new traditions while upholding the old. Don't be those parents that expect everyone to cater to your every need because you have a kid now. You don't even have one yet. Either suck it up for this mediocre tradition or bail. But don't make it about your unborn child. If you use the baby as leverage, it will only cause resentment down the road. And this is one of those ones that should be just like a simple answer, really, shouldn't it? But there's so many different answers on this one, you know, what tradition means to people, how you get locked into certain things because of tradition, compromising for other family members, and, you know, just should be just being happy that families getting together and sharing love and etc. Other people saying, you know, just do exactly what you want, you know, it's your time. And that's kind of the way I felt initially when I read the post. I felt, well, you know, it's your time and everyone seems to be being a bit stubborn around this tradition, no movement at all. I'd much rather go to a tree farm where there's hot chocolate, maybe cake, some wreath making and all that other stuff. And I understand, though, the tradition probably means a lot to the father as well, getting the family together, etc., etc. So it makes it incredibly difficult. But I also know for myself, I would go to something that I didn't particularly enjoy just to spend time with my family at the same time. But I just find it not annoying. I can't think of the word right now, but I just find it just bugs me that there's just no movement. I know it's tradition. And I do love tradition, but it's one of the things that winds me up about tradition is that it's tradition, so there's no movement around anything, even if everyone dislikes it. I just sit back in my chair and it's like, isn't it just about family getting together, right? When I was young, I don't know, 10 years old, let's say, maybe even a little bit younger, one of my favorite things that I used to do with my dad around Christmas time that I considered tradition was going to deliver Christmas cards with him around our local area and then coming back and having a hot chocolate. But he would give me the cards and I would run off and post them in the letterbox and we'd go to the next house, etc., etc. And he would time me to see how fast I could do them sometimes and all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't the fact that we were going out delivering cards in the cold, because it was fucking awful. But spending that time with my dad was just absolutely awesome. And it was just a simple thing. It was alone time with my dad, then we'd come back and he'd make me a hot chocolate and then we'd sit and watch TV together. I don't know. What do you guys make of this one? Have you got like your own family traditions that you maybe dislike but still attend? What would you do in this particular situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from Wholesome Ario from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it says, "Am I the arsehole for refusing to let my roommate's boyfriend live with us after he tested me? I, 19 female, live with my roommate. Let's call her Ashley, 20 female, in a small 2-bedroom apartment. We've been friends since high school and decided to split rent when we both started college. Things were fine at first, but then she started dating Jake, 22 male. At first, he was over just a couple of nights a week, which I didn't mind. But over the past few months, he's basically moved in, eating our food, using our stuff, and not contributing a single dime to rent or bills. I finally had enough and told Ashley that Jake either needed to start paying his share or stop practically living here. She apologized and said she had talked to him. I thought that was the end of it. Fast forward to last week. I was getting ready to head out to a late night study group when Jake cornered me in the kitchen. He told me he wanted to test me to see if I'd be a good person to live with full time. I was confused and asked what he meant. He said that if I wanted him to pay rent, I had to prove I was roommate material by showing I could handle sharing the space with someone like him. He then gave me a list of rules he'd want me to follow if he officially moved in. Things like doing my share of the cooking, even though I already make my own meals. Not bringing any guys over. I'm single, but why is that even relevant? And being respectful of his gaming time by keeping the Wi-Fi free during his streams. I laughed in his face and told him there was no way he was moving in. He got pissed and told Ashley I was being unreasonable. She confronted me and said Jake was just testing the waters and that I should have been more open to the idea. She accused me of being jealous because I'm single and suggested I was trying to sabotage their relationship. Now she's saying if I can't be supportive, then maybe she should get a new roommate, one who respects her relationship. I think this is completely insane, but Ashley and a couple of her friends are siding with Jake. They're calling me selfish and controlling. Am I the arsehole refusing to let him move in after his ridiculous test? I wonder if the friends saw the list that he supplied to you. It's just like it all comes across as very manipulative and controlling behavior. He's like essentially been a squatter in your place and is trying to create rules for someone whose name is on the lease, trying to restrict OP from having visitors, a boyfriend. And like I said, the manipulation of trying to switch the whole thing around on OP, getting the friends involved, etc. He knows exactly what he's doing there. But no COD says not the arsehole. Jake's behavior is a major red flag. His test shows controlling tendencies and lack of respect for your boundaries. The apartment is yours and Ashley's and has no right to set rules or test you. His demands about cooking, visitors, and Wi-Fi usage are completely inappropriate. Your original request was reasonable. Either he pays rent or stops living there rent-free. Most leases have guest policies limiting overnight stays. Ashley is being manipulated here. Jake moved in without permission, uses resources without contributing, and now tries to establish dominance by setting rules in an apartment where he doesn't even pay rent. Stand firm on your boundaries. Document everything. Check your lease about guest policies. Consider talking to your landlord if this continues. Remember, you signed a lease with Ashley, not Jake. His attempt to test you is just a power play to establish control over your shared living space. OP replied saying, "Thank you for the advice. I will start to document everything from now on. Any other advice I should do as well." Ivy says, "If you don't already have one, put a lock on your bedroom door." Gorilla Boy says, "So he thinks he can come in as a third wheel and then start making demands and stupid rules. Sounds like he's not the roommate material. Tell Ashley that if he's paying 1/3, that doesn't mean he gets priority. How dare he make demands when he's an equal partner in expenses, especially for gaming, for crying out loud." OP says, yeah, he gets really emotional when it comes to his gaming time. So OP came in with their update and said, "Hi everyone, it's been a wild ride since my original post, and I wanted to give an update because a lot has happened. First off, I want to thank everyone who commented. It helped me see things in a completely new light. Honestly, I didn't even realize how much I was being gaslighted by Jake and Ashley until I read some of your insights. I thought they were my friends, but now I see how manipulative and toxic their behavior really is. Maybe I just hated the thought of not having any friends, but who needs enemies with these kind of friends? Not gonna lie, it breaks my heart to realize this, and I cried a lot. But that doesn't change anything. I don't know why I'm saying this, it's just been a really emotional day, please forgive my rant. Since our confrontation, Jake has gone full victim mode. He's been telling mutual friends that I'm trying to ruin his life and kick him out of his girlfriend's apartment. Let me remind you, this man doesn't pay rent or contribute to any bills, so calling it his girlfriend's apartment is already laughable. He's been painting me as some controlling, jealous monster who can't handle his straightforward personality. Meanwhile, Ashley is eating it up and defending him, saying I'm overreacting and causing unnecessary drama. What's worse is that I've started noticing just how much control Jake has over Ashley. She's completely brought into his narrative and is now acting like I'm the enemy. For example, she told me last night that my attitude is making it hard for them to feel comfortable in their own home. Their home. This apartment is 50% mine, but suddenly I'm being treated like an unwelcome guest. I've decided I've had enough. I've already documented everything. His constant presence, his freeloading, and now his smear campaign. I'm reaching out to my landlord this week. Most leases have clauses about long-term guests, and Jake has already overstayed his. As for Ashley, I don't know if there's any saving our friendship. I'm heartbroken because I thought she cared about me, but now I realize she's supporting Jake's abusive behavior. Thank you to everyone who opened my eyes to what was really happening. I'll post another update once I've spoken to my landlord and taken further action. For now, I'm just trying to reclaim my space and my peace of mind. Also, I want to thank you for just caring and being there. This is what I needed to hear, and you were all honest and fair with me. I'm very grateful for the support I got that I couldn't get anywhere else, so thank you. Lily White says, nice that you're standing up for yourself and your right to a peaceful living space. Opie says, I realized the night after I posted that I didn't feel safe anymore without a locked door. That was my sign I really needed to listen to the advice. Curious Josh says, good for you for standing up for yourself. For your information, a 22 male should almost be graduating college, not freeloading off a 19 female girlfriend, demanding no one uses internet during his gaming time. This guy's a walking red flag. Opie responded saying, and he's not even a good player. Lol, I'm joking, I have no idea, but he gets angry all the time and screams at his screen and throws stuff across the room. Another red flag right there. Crag Hack says, good luck. Unfortunately, Jake seems like a good manipulator, so he might have gotten Ashley on board with his narrative. Don't mean she is without guilt. Just mean she might have started as a friend, but even if she isn't that now, I'd look for your own apartment. As long as they are in your life, your home will unfortunately not be a safe zone. Good luck with everything. Opie says, yes, I think she got blinded by love. I'm in no place or mood to judge her. I will probably move out and see if my friendship to her can remain. I don't plan to see Jake anymore. And I think in this situation, I'd probably go along with OP and get out of that apartment as soon as possible. I know it's not the ideal situation because you shouldn't have to move out of an apartment you're renting because of someone else's behavior. Absolutely. But in some cases, you know, I think it's one of those situations where you just pick your battles. I think OP could put her foot down, but it's just going to be continued bullshit from this couple and trying to worm Jake in some way, shape or form. Can you imagine what it would be like if he did move in? The expectations, leaving in a mess and probably expecting everyone else to clean up after him, etc. Yeah, sod that. Get out, find your peaceful place, live happily, and then watch the shit show from a distance. Because at some point down the road, that is going to be a shit show, let me tell you. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Uni Mermaid from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, and it says, Am I the Arsehole for not eating a Thanksgiving dish? I suspect it was made last year. Ah, damn, here we go. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. But I'm so baffled about this situation, I need a non-biased perspective. My husband and I, 30-ish, have a quite large family. His parents, his 2 siblings, plus spouses and kids. My divorced parents and their new spouses, plus my siblings and their spouses and kids. Altogether, we are well over 20 people, so family gatherings can be overwhelming for the person hosting. And yes, my divorced parents and their new spouses get along fine, and there's no drama. Last night, we celebrated Thanksgiving, and as a family tradition, everyone brings a dish. Usually we communicate with each other, so that way everyone is making different types of food. My sister-in-law, wife of my brother, said that she was going to bring her mum's famous sweet potato casserole. I thought it was very nice of her since her mum passed away this year, and she was honoring her memory by making a recipe. However, once I saw her dish, I truly think she brought last year's leftovers. Instead of a big pan, she brought several small and medium containers of sweet potato casserole. Although it did not smell weird, it was very dry and it just didn't look like a regular one. I didn't try it and discreetly told my husband my concerns, who also did not try it. Once Thanksgiving was over, my mother called me saying that my sister-in-law was upset because she noticed I didn't try a dish. I told my mother about my fears and she said that I'm just being too picky with food and there's no way a frozen casserole could last a year without having mold. I pointed that the several containers could mean she cut the good parts and left the moldy ones. After an awkward silence, we decided to agree to disagree and hang up. I feel bad for my sister-in-law, but I truly could not bring myself to eat something I'm not 100% sure is safe. So, am I the arsehole? Obviously, I'm a Brit. Thanksgiving isn't a huge thing. Some people do sort of like something similar on those days, but I imagine that they're big things and everyone bringing a dish, there's lots of food there. So I kind of find it weird in itself. And, you know, you have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but you're not expected to try every single dish, right? Obviously, during the Thanksgiving period, there was loads of pictures on social media of people around the table with food. And I'm telling you, these tables were like massive. They were full of food. So I kind of found it weird in itself, the expectation that you have to have a bit of everything. I mean, I would love to try everything, but you know, my stomach's only so big. But Bujo says, not the arsehole. Let's say for argument's sake that the casserole was made yesterday, on Thanksgiving. If you just decided you didn't want sweet potato casserole, you'd still be in this situation and you'd still be justified in not eating it. Either way, the person who made the dish should not be closely monitoring who took some. That's very strange. Eat what you want to eat at these types of gatherings. Enough Process says, not the arsehole. The whole point of a big meal with multiple dishes is that you don't have to eat from every dish if you don't want to. Reasons for not doing so do not need to be given. Pizza Sauce says, yesterday, had rolls, stuffing, sweet potato casserole, pecan pie, pumpkin pie, apple pie, how many pies? Green bean casserole, orange jello salad. What the? Just had to Google that. That actually looks quite good. I was expecting sort of like an orange jelly on top of like leaves and stuff. I was like, what the fuck? Turkey, ham, water, Coke, broccoli, cheese, rice, and mashed potatoes. I did not eat any tofurkey? Cheesy peas, vegetarian stuffing, banana pudding, chips with dip, baked beans, ice cream, sweet tea, unsweetened tea, lemonade, mac and cheese, Hawaiian rolls, and a few other sides I can't recall. No one said a thing to me about what I didn't eat. Oh, dearie me. I'm full just reading that list. Opie came in with an update a few hours later and said, after spending my whole morning reading and answering your comments, I decided to pass by my mother's house and have an in-person talk with her. I read her some of the comments on the original post and she thinks the internet is a strange place. She's not wrong. We agreed I can always come and tell her what I think truthfully. She has not talked to anyone else in the family about the yam debacle. We decided to call my brother and ask if we can go to his house and have a talk with him and my sister-in-law. He said to brace ourselves and come with an open mind. When we got there, my sister-in-law started crying uncontrollably, and my brother took us to the kitchen, which was a mess. Long story short, they were indeed leftovers, just not a year old. I guess sometime before her passing, sister-in-law and her mum had made several family recipes as a bonding experience. The casserole was one of the staple recipes and my sister-in-law had froze several containers of it. On Thanksgiving week, she thawed some of it and tried to replicate the taste without luck. I guess the pressure of making it for us got the best of her, and she got more and more frustrated as the date approached. On Thursday, she finally gave up and decided to just reheat the one she had frozen. As to why my sister-in-law noticed that I didn't eat her dish, apparently in prior years I had complimented the casserole as, this is the best one I've ever tried. So this year she was expecting some comment and was sad when I didn't even try it. I apologized and told her I was really sorry that I hurt her feelings. She apologized for singling me out. We told her to rest and in the meantime me, my mother and brother we cleaned the kitchen, tidied the house and mum made her soup. Ayako? Hope I pronounced that correctly. If you know, you know. My mum decided to stay but I left a bit after everything was done and everyone was calm. As a goodwill gesture I'm getting my sister-in-law a mini spa day that I think she will enjoy and help her feel better. So that's pretty much it. No big fight, no big dramatic scene. Sorry, not sorry. Thank you for all your opinions. I'll be more thoughtful of people's feelings, but I will not eat something I don't want to just to please someone. No reports that anyone got sick, by the way. Lastly, does my mother think frozen food can get moldy? She claims she said it in the heat of the moment and because I was annoying her. She knows cooking is not my forte, so she thought I had no good comeback to that. I opened her freezer and there's only meat and ice cream. So, who knows at this point? But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Mixture of comments on this one. Some people talking about the food situation, other people saying, it's a happy ending in the grand scheme of things. But what do you guys make of it? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And we got another story from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, Thanksgiving based, of course, always around this date. They always come flooding forward. This is from a throwaway account that says, Am I the Arsehole for leaving in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner because of pumpkin pie? My 32 female mother, 60 female host Thanksgiving dinner at her house every year. It's a small event with my parents, me, my brother's family, and my sister-in-law's family attending. We avoid family quarrels by implementing a strict no politics rule and trying our best to be civil. I should probably mention that we are not a particularly close-knit family. We rarely see each other beyond these events since my brother lives in South Africa and I travel a lot due to my work. Thanksgiving is important to my mum since it's one of those rare times we're all together. Anyway, the main problem I have with my mother is a constant critique of me. She has a habit of making passive-aggressive comments about my life choices, from my career to my lack of children to the way I dress. I've addressed this with her multiple times, but she doesn't really seem aware of it. My father claims it's just her way of fussing and expressing that she cares. It does hurt though, because my brother is never criticized in the same manner. I cannot entirely fault her for her criticism, since I did majorly mess up my life a few months ago. Depression, and it has affected her opinion of me negatively. It does not excuse the way I acted, but I just wanted to explain why I left. By the time we finished dinner, I was a bit prickly because of some of her commentary. I made a cake for dessert. I was explicitly put in charge of it and no one specified what exactly I should make, so I opted for a maple cheesecake. I did my best and I think it looked okay. Mum normally makes pumpkin pie, but I really hate pumpkins. They make me gag, so I thought perhaps we could try something new. As I was bringing out the cheesecake, my mum eyed it somewhat warily and announced she decided to make the usual pie as well. This caught me off guard. I asked why she didn't tell me beforehand and she said something like, well, we figured you'd do your own thing, so I thought it'd be best to have a backup. She went on to cut the pie and serve it to everyone, instructing me to leave the cheesecake in the kitchen. When someone asked to try my dessert, she said, let's not mix too many flavors at once, which just felt passive-aggressive. I know it's immature for an adult to get this upset over triviality, but I just politely refused as she was handing me a slice of pie, retrieved my coat, and left. People were calling after me, I think, but by that point I was crying for some reason, and it would have been too humiliating to have an emotional outburst in front of everyone for no real reason. My mum just texted me saying that it was incredibly rude and immature of me to leave like that, especially on Thanksgiving. My brother also sent me a message saying I'm acting irrationally. I feel horrible for leaving so abruptly, especially because my parents are getting older and we're already not close. Something about my mother seems to turn me into a neurotic teenager, and I hate it. You've mentioned a couple of times that you're not close with your mum, and let's just face the reason. It's there for us to see. We've just read it. It's because she's an arsehole. And she has the bloody cheek to message you after saying that it was rude and immature of you after all the shit she just pulled. As I always say in these family situations, you know your family better than anyone. And I'm seeing a very, very small portion of your life here. But sometimes I think you just need to take a step back and ask yourself, what does this person actually bring to my life? And your dad's excuse for her behavior is bullshit as well. That's not showing she cares. That's not a way of fussing. And you didn't mess up your life. You're going through a particularly bad period and suffered with depression. And it affected her opinion of you negatively. Winds me right up, let me tell you. Mum knows exactly what she's doing in this situation. Purposely trying to bring you down. And you don't have to put up with that shit. You don't have to have someone like that in your life. You did exactly the right thing for yourself in that moment. Get up and leave. Don't put up with her bullshit afterwards. You simply deserve people around you that love and support you. And I know it's not the point, but I would have chosen your cheesecake, OP. But Kuro says not the arsehole. If your mother's way of fussing and expressing that she cares looks, sounds and feels like she's being a deliberately nasty person, and I'm guessing she's really just being a deliberately nasty person. Walks like a duck and all that. I'll tell your father this. Your mother premeditated the whole dessert thing right down to the kick in the teeth of excluding the dessert you made from the table. She got off on being cruel in this petty way for whatever warped reason. This kind of thing is no accident, and not care in any way. Golden Boy brother can't see it because he is never the target. Dad is trying to see it through the best possible lens. Your mother won't admit to herself what she's really doing, even as she deliberately does it. Their blindness doesn't mean she isn't doing it. JP History said, not the arsehole, your mum is the worst. Like seriously, the worst. God forbid anyone eat and then compliment your cheesecake. You are not crying for some reason. You are crying for a valid reason. You are not behaving irrationally. You are reacting with perfect rationality given your circumstances. Maybe take the rest of the holidays and give yourself some grace, or spend them with a friend or family member that doesn't treat you like an inconvenience. From one black sheep to another, you deserve way better. And one more comment from Sky Complex who says, not the arsehole. My mum pulled this shit on me too one Christmas. I was bringing desserts and she showed up with multiple pies. Luckily my sister and husband were on my side and no one ate her pie. My husband was furious. I'm so sorry you're all done and dealing with this and no one has your back. The best thing I ever decided to do for myself is to opt out of the family holidays. The year after this happened, I spent Christmas drinking pina coladas on a beach in Mexico. Highly recommended. Anyway, now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What would you do in that situation? I just, from OP's perspective, I just don't see the reason to be there. There's no support, there's no love, and she's just being berated by her own mother. And like one of the comments says, Golden Boy brother has never been the target of any of this, so he's quite happy to sit there and let OP take it as well. And father just seems to brush it all under the carpet, It's just the way she is. Say it with me, guys. But family. Fuck that. Family are people that love and support you. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from Zealous Ideal Mix 6580, and it says, am I the arsehole here for refusing to give my husband the cash I got back from a present he asked me to return? For context, my husband, 46-year-old, got into a terrible cycling accident last year. He suffered from a punctured lung requiring a chest tube, 3 broken ribs and a broken clavicle. He spent 5 days in the hospital. It was really scary for all of us. He's finally back on the bike and training again. The kids and I worked really hard for his birthday present this year. We wanted it to be something to recognize how proud we were of him getting back on the bike. It's important to mention that when he asked what he wanted for his birthday, he would tell us, I don't need anything. We, by we I mean me, because our kids are both under the age of 7, got him a Garmin Varia, which is a bike radar and a camera that provides a tail light, visibility to approaching cars, and notifies the biker of approaching cars. Total cost was $500. We gave it to him last night, and it was pretty obvious he did not want it. This morning he asked me to return it. I'm pissed about his ungrateful reaction, but that's another conversation. Later on today, he informs me that he would just take the $500 cash amount as his present instead. I told him hell no. He doesn't want the gift, fine, but I'm not giving the money, especially with how ungrateful he was for the original gift. He says I'm the arsehole, and that it's his gift and therefore his cash. So am I the arsehole here for not giving my husband the cash that I'm getting back for returning the gift he didn't like? For me, I can understand being very particular about a gift, especially if it's like his cycling, which I imagine is like a big hobby, if you like, for him. Like for me, when I get into hobbies, I like very specific things. I think it's all in the approach. Like if your wife gave you this and you don't think you're going to use it, you approach it in a nice way saying, thank you so much for that, but I don't think I'll use it for X reason, this reason. Would it be possible to do this? And maybe suggest a gift that you will use every time. But I think asking for the cash amount instead did come across as rude. And I kind of feel like there's more to this, but Alkaline says, as a cyclist myself, I'm confused why he wouldn't want that rear camera for extra insurance, especially after being in an accident. More community says, yeah, it's frustrating. You put so much thought into that gift, especially after everything he's been through, and he just brushed it off. Then ask him for the cash? That's pretty disrespectful. You're not in the wrong for not giving him the money. He needs to recognize the effort and meaning behind the gift. The Last Day of Bison says, and it'd be one thing if he never got back into training and cycling. It'd be understandable if such a traumatic and life-changing experience was too much for him. But he did. He showed them he was still invested and interested in a keen cyclist, and they reacted and responded accordingly. Talk about mixed messages. Teacher in Life says, nah, just remind him that he didn't need anything. Yavanna says, info. Is this normal behavior for him? Or have you seen shifts in his personality since his accident? Interesting. Decent Position says, ooh, good point. A good friend of mine had a TBI and it took years before he found things funny again. Even now he still gets grumpy quicker, though he tries to hide it. Brain injuries are wild. So, OP came in with an update and said, I'm not sure if this is how you're supposed to post an update. I had no idea my post was going to get this much attention. Thank you everyone for your advice. I want to clarify a few things. This present was not a way to encourage him back on the bike. He's been riding again for several months now, 20 plus miles at least 3 days a week. He's training for a triathlon. I asked my husband if the present triggered him or brought back any traumatic memories. He told me it did not. His reason for not wanting it is that he does not want all the extra electronics on his bike. He did apologize for his reaction and thanked the kids and I for the thoughtful gift, but explained that he would never use it. Not that it's really anyone's business, but we have a joint account and then we each have our own separate bank accounts. It works for us. I did not give him the money. We agreed to use some of the money to set up a fire pit in our backyard, which is something he's wanted to do for a while. The rest is going back in my wallet. I got the Garmin Varia RCT715 with rear view bike camera for $399, and then I got a Garmin Edge 130 plus compact bike computer to go with it, which was $120, for those of you questioning if I'm telling the truth about the price. That's all folks. I wish he kept the gift for his safety, but I can't force him to use it. I've learned my lesson and I'll no longer be buying surprise gifts for him. If he doesn't tell me exactly what he wants, he will get a gift card. Commenter says, just wanted to comment because I love the Varia. If he does a lot of road cycling, that gadget can be very useful. One example in my case, I get into a zen state while cycling, and this device will warn me when a car is coming up behind me and get my attention back, just in case something goes wrong, i.e. inattentive driver. I've owned variations of this device since I started riding in 2019, and almost all of my cycling buddies had ended up buying one as well. Natalie says, it sounds like you're doing what's best for both of you, even if it's not what others might expect. A joint effort for the fire pit is a great compromise. As for the gift, it's okay to learn and adjust next time. Just ask what he wants. If I'm being completely honest, it gave me feelings of there's something more to this, but again, we're only seeing a very small part of someone's life here. But there was a mix of comments below this one. Some people saying that they understand where he's coming from, especially some of the cyclists that was on that post. They were saying, look, they wouldn't want extra electronics on their bike. But again, it's about the approach and saying, I don't think I'd use it. Is there a way we could put it towards something else? In a nice way. Not take it back and I'll take the cash. But there was also people criticizing her saying, although it was a thought out gift, getting mad that he doesn't want it isn't going to help things, is it? Surely you want him to have a gift that he's going to appreciate. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit from SadHubTA, who says, am I the arsehole for being upset that I found out my wife was pregnant via social media? I'm 29 and she is 27. We've been together for 4 years, married for 2, both from the same hometown but currently living in a different city. She's at our hometown for a family event and I stayed back due to work. We've been trying to get pregnant for 3 months and now it's happened. The problem is the way I found out about it. My friend congratulated me by posting a screenshot in our group chat. A screenshot of an Instagram story posted by one of my wife's friends. The post was my wife crying and hugging some of her friends with a caption, You're going to be the best mom." I called her right away, and she answered pretty quickly saying, "I have news, babe." All I said was, "I know, you're pregnant." She replied, "Wow, babe, how did you know?" I just said, "I saw it on Insta. Didn't you think to call me first, huh?" She said, "What? I didn't post anything." I responded, "Yeah, but your friends did. That's one way to find out I'm going to be a dad. Thanks." And I hung up. I was furious. She kept calling me, and I didn't answer until my sister called shortly after. My sister asked me what was going on because she just arrived at my in-laws' house and everyone was freaking out, fighting, and my wife was locked up in her room. I told her what happened and she said there's no way she would do that. I replied, "Well, she did." My sister said she was going to find out what was going on. A little later, my sister called me back and explained everything. At that point, I'd calmed down, thinking it was just a crappy friend who decided to post without permission. But my sister filled me in on the details. My wife was late on her period, and while hanging out with a friend, they thought, "What if you're already pregnant?" So they bought a bunch of pregnancy tests, all of which came out positive. They freaked out, told her parents, and then texted some friends in town to come over. From the time she found out to the time her friend posted on Instagram, only 2 hours had passed. My wife told at least 10 people before telling me. For the record, my sister told me that the argument going on when she arrived was because the other friends were upset with the one who posted on Instagram. Apparently they all thought it was a shitty thing to do and were mad at her, but they also couldn't understand why my wife hadn't told me sooner. I finally called my wife and she was crying. She apologized and said she'd been planning to surprise me, which was why she hadn't told me yet. I was skeptical and pointed out that if she'd really wanted to surprise me, she wouldn't have been ready to tell me right when I called. She went silent, and I told her I needed some time to think. She yelled, saying I couldn't just walk away and that we needed to talk about it. I replied, "Why do we need to talk? So you can lie again?" And I hung up. A ton of people have been messaging me, but I'm honestly exhausted. I don't know why, but this has drained me. I've cried randomly, which is unusual for me. I'm not a crier. This isn't supposed to be a huge deal, but it feels like I've been hit by a truck. My sister sent me a message that really stuck. "Hey, I know this sucks and it was crappy of her, but don't let this ruin it for you. You're going to be a dad. You're going to be an amazing dad. This is great. The only thing keeping me going right now is knowing that I'm going to be a dad. I've dreamed of this, and all I hope is that this baby is healthy. I'll probably swallow my pride and pretend I'm fine just to avoid making my wife too emotional during the pregnancy. But I'll do that tomorrow. Tonight, I'll just sulk." Edit. I posted this into the Reddit void, thinking of nothing of it, and woke up to thousands of comments and dozens of DMs. Holy shit. Thanks so much for caring. Just to clarify a couple of things. Do I think the baby might not be mine? Classic Reddit. Lol. No chance she cheated. She works from home and we have home security cameras inside the house, so that's not happening in our house. She does not do girls' nights. The best friend in the city we live in is a female co-worker of mine, and we hang out the three of us often. They text each other a lot, but almost never hang out one-on-one. If they do, it's at our house with me in the next room. Also, my wife is the clingiest person alive. Like when I'm at work, she texts me every 30 minutes, and when I'm at home, she's always at least in the same room I'm in if she isn't cuddling up to me. When we're out, she is always holding my arm, my hand, literally does not leave my side. I honestly actually love it most of the time. I feel loved, but it is too much sometimes, and we had a fight about it weeks ago. I even questioned if this fight was the reason she didn't tell me right away, but it's probably not. On her friends, they are all very nice people. I've known them for a long time now. My sister is part of the friend group, and some of them have been friends since they were like 12. My wife is the only one that lives in a different city, so they always hang out a lot when she's in town. I cannot emphasize enough how out of character this whole situation is for her. She has many flaws like every other person, but being inconsiderate is not one of them. That's why I woke up in the middle of the night with a feeling like I'm actually completely wrong on this, because she would not do this on purpose. There is no way. So I sent her a text just saying that everything is fine and that will drive the 4 hours down there to talk. She was actually awake and asked if she should call. She did and said she wanted to come home. I said that I was going over there to pick her up. She asked, "Are we okay?" I just said yes, and she started to cry. I told her that I'm very happy and I'm dying to see her, but we will need to talk about it. She calmed down a bit after that. That's when I opened up the post again and saw all the comments. I asked for a day off and my boss was fine with it, so I'm actually going to my hometown right now. I will update when it's all settled. Gee bloody whiz. No, I don't blame OP one bit for being upset about this situation. I'm glad that, they're getting back together and having a chat about it, but we'll cover that update in a moment. And whilst I found it kind of strange that you're doing a pregnancy test with your friends rather than your husband in the first place, the chance of it being positive, I can kind of understand that there was probably a lot of feelings afterwards when you do see it as positive, excitement, just a whole shit ton of feelings. But then your first thought afterwards is not to immediately call your husband, but to gather a whole bunch of friends about it, and your husband find out last is, yeah, come on, man. It did crack me up, though, that some of the comments talking about cheating if the child was actually his. I was like, where did that come from? And the top comment on this one was from Empty Mastodon 7165, who just says, too much social media. Never Destination says, there is a certain type of person. I choose not to share pictures of my little ones online as I want them to have control over what is shared. They have ended up online because my sister-in-law couldn't just enjoy a family get-together without sharing it with her followers, who most likely don't care. Then I have a different sister-in-law who is intent on creating an alternative life on social media where everything is perfect. So when my kids go to play with their cousins, they all have to have a forced photo shoot whenever they do anything. Just getting kids to look at the camera at the same time is nearly impossible when you have more than one under 5 in the mix, so it always leads to tears. I remember my nephew crying on his 2nd birthday because he just wanted to play, but he wasn't allowed to until his mum had got the perfect photo of him standing next to the perfectly coordinated balloons and tablecloth. People are stupid. Faded Tiger replies to that saying, this is my mum. Couldn't give my wife the opportunity to post the first picture when our 2nd was born. We were focused on making sure everyone got a chance to meet him in person and would get to the post when we found a moment of peace. Apparently after 2 days it's fair game because my mum had to post the picture she insisted getting taken when she met him with her and her 2 other grandchildren. She retired and took the family on a Caribbean vacation to celebrate. Instead of enjoying being in paradise with her children and grandchildren, she complained about how the kids didn't like the matching outfit she made, and the only pictures she had of her with them in, her outfits included her in a bathing suit. She wasn't in a single photo in her trip post, and the only photos used were the ones where the kids were wearing the outfits she made. Some people are more concerned with showing people they had a good time than actually having a good time. Commenter says that's some shitty behavior indeed from that one friend. Who the hell steals a pregnancy announcement? Away Understanding says your wife and her friends are shitty. Also, why should you have to hide your hurt feelings when she's the one that fucked up and hurt you? Just because she's pregnant doesn't mean you have to push down your feelings. She took away an awesome moment that the 2 of you could have had and instead had that moment with almost a dozen other people. You're allowed to be upset with her. What's next? Is she going to insist someone else in the delivery room instead of you? She's pretty selfish, and I hope she grows up before the baby comes. So, around a week or so later, OP came in with her update and said hello again. Things have settled down now, and I feel like I have all the information, so I'm here to give you all an update. When I got to my in-laws, my wife was sitting on the sidewalk waiting for me. She jumped on me and kept apologizing, just hugging me and saying how sorry she was. We went to her room and I told her I was really tired and wanted a nap before our talk. We slept holding each other. When we woke up, our talk felt like an endless circle. Me asking what happened and her saying that she was stupid and that it was all her fault. She kept saying it didn't matter what happened because she screwed up a big moment in our lives. I kept asking, but she just repeated that she messed up and that nothing else mattered. Eventually, she said she didn't want to give me excuses and that the right thing for her to do was take responsibility and apologize. I eventually gave in, told her she was forgiven, and said everything was fine. Still, I went to talk to her friend, the one who was with her all day and bought the pregnancy test with her. Her story was that, right after my wife tested positive, they spent about an hour freaking out and talking about the ways to tell me or surprise me. Eventually, my mother-in-law got home and they told her. Together, they decided to invite their girlfriends over to discuss ways to tell me. The friend went over all their ideas. and I 100% believe her. She also said it was discussed with a group that I didn't know yet and that they should keep it quiet for now because we hadn't decided when to announce it. She says the one girl who posted it on Instagram absolutely did it on purpose. She had been told not to say anything to anyone, and at that point, they were even discussing ways to tell me with her. The picture she posted was taken when another friend had just arrived and heard the news. For some reason, she decided to post about it right then and there. Apparently, when they confronted her, she initially claimed she didn't know she wasn't allowed to post it. She stuck to that lie for a while, but eventually, she just told everyone she didn't give a shit and left. She blocked everyone in the group, and we haven't heard from her since. No one knows why she did it. They don't know if she's jealous of my wife or something else. At this point, we don't care. She's blocked on our end too, and we went no contact with her. My sister later confirmed the friend's story. When she first called me with details, she was under the impression my wife had just told everyone and forgot to tell me. But after talking to other friends and my mother-in-law, she told me basically the same story. I was also told the friend I spoke to, my mother-in-law, and another friend that when I called my wife, she basically said, "Screw it, I'm telling him right now," and was super excited to do it. Me and my wife talked again during our trip back home. Now with me having most of the details and she told her side, basically identical to what my sister and the friend told me. She was again very apologetic and kept saying that I'm her number one priority, and that this was one of the dumbest things she has ever done. We have a couples counseling appointment next week at her insistence. I honestly don't think it's necessary, but she believes I need a space to fully express my feelings. She's worried I forgave her too fast and that I'm bottling everything up. Honestly, her concern about my feelings is already enough for me to forgive her and chalk this up as a one-time thing. We also had our first appointment with an obstetrician. First because it's obviously the right thing to do, but also because many people warned me about the risks of miscarriages in early pregnancy. My wife's last period was about 6 weeks ago, and the doctor said it was a bit early for an appointment. Still, they ran a bunch of tests and confirmed my wife is indeed pregnant. So far, everything looks fine. Thank you all so much for caring about a random stranger. Gee bloody whiz with a cherry on top. What do you guys make of this situation? Some people not believing the story that was told, other people saying that the friend was just jealous and that's why they posted it on social media. What do you think of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from Walls Windows 1376 and says, "Am I the arsehole for still going to my sister's wedding after my husband cancelled my plane ticket?" And before we do get into today's story, I just want to give you a bit of a warning that there is talk of sexual assault within the story. So if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. It starts off. Here's the situation. My husband, 36, and I, 30, have 3 kids, 2, 4, and 7. I'm a stay-at-home mum, full-time, and I take care of the kids while my husband works, full-time. My sister's wedding was last week. We live hours away, which is an issue for my husband. When we first got the invite, he told me that he wasn't going, that he will stay for the kids, and suggested I do the same. Since the wedding doesn't allow kids, and my husband doesn't want to hire a babysitter after the one we had robbed us. We've gone back and forth on this, but I insisted on going since that's my only sister, and I want to attend what might be a once-in-a-lifetime event for her. He chuckled at my statement, then we stopped talking about it. As the wedding was approaching, he brought it up and he told me to miss it and stay with the kids. I suggested that since no babysitters were allowed then, I could get my friend to stay with the kids, but he refused. I ignored him, spoke to my friend who agreed to watch the kids and booked a ticket to travel to my sister's town in time. My husband found out and went on about how he had to work and that the most logical solution is that I stay home with the kids and let him make his living. I told him that I already took care of the kids and they'll stay with my friend. Honestly, I grew impatient. The day of my flight, I dropped the kids off at my friend's place, then headed to the airport. I found out that he had cancelled my plane ticket. I was upset but still insisted on going, so I went home and got into my car and drove 4 hours to get to the town. At 5 p.m, my husband called and was freaking out on me asking where I was. I told him I made it to my sister's town and he blew up saying I wasn't supposed to go. Even said he cancelled my ticket to get me to stay. He demanded I return, but I said not until the wedding was over. He called me a horrible, neglectful mum, then had his mum scold me and accuse me of abandoning my own kids. There was a huge argument ensued when I returned home, and my husband kept on saying that I was horrible to leave the kids and to ignore him like that and do what I wanted eventually. He's given me silent treatment as of now, and I can no longer take it. I felt guilty and did not enjoy the wedding at all. Was I wrong for still going? So OP added a little bit of info and an update in the same post before the main update. It said, info, my husband dislikes my sister if it's relevant. And this small update says, so a lot of people on here brought up the possibility of my husband lying about the robbery that happened months ago and accusing the babysitter of stealing just so I can't hire any other babysitters. So a lot of people here brought up the possibility of my husband lying about the robbery that happened months ago and accusing the babysitter of stealing, just so I can't hire any other babysitters. He was the one who discovered the robbery. I never saw or talked to her after he kicked her out. Upon reading the comments, I'm now suspecting that he made this whole thing up. I'm going to contact the babysitter to get the whole story from. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I will talk to her and see if her story contradicts his in any way. I'll keep you updated. Absolute huge red flags all around, right? Especially with a bit of extra information at the end there, which I didn't think of, to be honest, but it's certainly a possibility, right? There's just hugely controlling behavior all in this one post, and there was no sort of reason for why he wanted you to stay home. It's just stay home with the kids and that's it. And went so far as cancelling your plane ticket, which is a process in itself, isn't it? You know, having to phone the company or log in with your details to cancel that. And there was other things that jumped out to me, like let him make his living, using the kids to try and manipulate you, that you was horrible to leave the kids. And then, of course, getting old mummy involved at the same time as well. Oof. And in those situations, I always wonder if he's told his mum the truth of what actually happened in that situation. He may have, and she may just be as awful as him, of course. But you think any normal person that you're telling this story to, if it was from your perspective, like, oh yeah, I told her not to go, she needed to look after the kids, and then I cancelled her plane ticket, you'll be like, whoa, hold up a second here. What the fuck's that about? But some relevant comments with OP replying. Someone says, not the arsehole. He's awful. It's ridiculous to suggest you missed the wedding, as there were obviously childcare solutions, and to cancel the ticket is super abusive. I can't see how this doesn't cause massive damage to your relationship. He's ridiculously controlling. OP says, thing is, I had already suggested other solutions, but he was dead set on not letting me come. I ignored him because I was at my wit's end, and he wouldn't want it any other way. Another commenter says, in quotes, horrible, neglectful mum, and then says, from the man that did everything he could to not have to parent his own kids for a weekend. Your relationship is not healthy. He's manipulating and controlling. Hopefully the comments here open your eyes, not the arsehole. OP responds saying, with a confounded face emojis, and says, is how I felt when I heard him say it. Not a new thing though, because he has called me names before, but to say that I'm a neglectful mum? That stings hard. A commenter says financial abuse, yep. Isolating you from loved ones, yep. And controlling behavior, yep. Not the arsehole, and please leave the arsehole. He should be required to give you child support and alimony. You are not neglectful, your kids were taken care of. OP says thank you so much. The childcare arrangement issues has been making my life 10 times harder. After that babysitter robbed us, my husband decided that no babysitter is allowed into our home anymore. I disagreed because of how illogical his decision was, and now look at how much we're struggling. I'm struggling actually without outside help. Thank God for my friend. She's like a sister to me. A commenter says you're not the arsehole either way, but info. Why did he have his mum berate you after he was done? You know you're not the arsehole. He's obviously a control freak. And the way you said he wants to earn his money, like it's not yours, screams financial abuse. I'm honestly feeling like this is fake, but to give you the benefit of the doubt, you really need to think hard about the situation and realize that he's setting you up so you can never leave. And since you left, if you go back home after this, he's going to make it harder for you to leave again. OP says he does it all the time. I was blamed by her when the previous babysitter robbed our house. I got called names by her and my husband too. It happened 7 months ago, but it still hurts like hell. A commenter says to OP, info, do you have evidence the babysitter robbed you apart from the missing items and your husband's testimony? It sounds like he's trying to isolate and control you. It is completely unreasonable to expect your wife to skip her only sister's wedding. OP says no, I wasn't home when it happened. It was after the babysitter left that my husband discovered the robbery. We never found the stuff, but my husband said it was her, because who else could it be? And then kicked her out even though I was the one who hired her. He told me he was the one paying her, so I shouldn't protest. That's it. It happened months ago. So OP came in with her update and says, I contacted the babysitter via social media. I sent her a DM telling her who I was and mentioning the incident that happened at our home. I didn't think she'd respond given that it's been over 7 months since she left us. But I was surprised when she responded in 2 hours' time. I again mentioned the incident to her and asked if she could explain to me what happened. She sent me a long wall of text swearing she never took anything from our home and that my husband came home and was lashing out at her and the kids for no reason. She said that they didn't talk to him that day, but then brought up a previous interaction they both had. Then she claimed that he touched her inappropriately while he was in the kitchen with her. This caught me off guard. I asked her to expand on that and she said she wasn't sure it was an accident or that he did it deliberately. She said he didn't say anything but his looks made her uncomfortable. She also said she was willing to let it go till she saw that he started leaving her texts days later demanding she respond to him. Then the day he accused her of the robbery, he just lashed out at her criticizing her work and told her to leave and not come back. She said he didn't accuse her of anything being stolen, just lashed out and told her to leave. I couldn't wrap my head around this. I don't know what to say. Basically, she was saying he tried to hit on her, but then said she wasn't sure it was an accident. Then he just all of a sudden came home one day and lashed out and told her to leave. I can't make sense of this. I went to try to speak to him on that, but he kept blocking my attempts to discuss it, so I blew up. Showed him what the babysitter sent me, and he remained calm, which is completely out of character of him. He kept repeating the line, "She's lying to you." Well, I absolutely lost it on him. I threatened to take the kids and go stay with my friend, which is what I'm going to do today after he leaves the house. Since he said that I can't do that, then I'm waiting till he's out. He kept calling me crazy to believe some kid's story over his and insisted that I was looking to dig up dirt to start a fight. I refused to continue fighting. I just kept my distance from him. This is just horrible. I did not see this coming. I feel like a cold wave just hit me and I don't know what to say about this, and worst of all is that I have no evidence or proof. I'm going to be taking some space from him now to clear my mind and think of what I'm going to do going forward. So there were some more comments with replies from the OP. Someone says, take the kids. If you have messages, screenshot everything. Screenshot what the babysitter told you. Screenshot you buying their ticket and then he cancelling it. If his mother trashed you via DMs, screenshot that too. Don't yield on this. The first step of everything is realizing something is not good. You already reached out that step. Your family will help you. Your friends will help you. Don't yield. Don't give up. And good luck. OP responded saying, yes, I'm too overwhelmed right now, but I'll make sure to store those messages. I already kept all his messages, including his mum's verbal attacks towards me. It's all for the way he and his mum treat me, in front of their kids no less. I'm at the end of my rope. I feel suffocated and my chest feels tight and heavy. I will need to get fresh air later on and away from the kids just so I can get my thoughts in order. OP responded to a deleted comment and says, I fully believe and I'm now convinced that the reason he cancelled the plane ticket and went ballistic when I attended the wedding is because he hates my sister. He calls her a slur on the regular and yells at me about how she sleeps around, which is none of his freaking business. I'm just so mad at myself for letting him get this far in humiliating me and badmouthing my family while I stood there and took it. I was an idiot. Someone said to OP, I wouldn't be shocked if he hides your keys or otherwise makes your car inoperable so you can't go anywhere. If that happens, phone a friend, call a cab/rideshare, and I will personally Venmo you the money to get away. When you leave, take important documents, birth certificates, social security cards, etc. with you. Hide them. Does he know where your friend lives? If so, try to find another friend that he doesn't know. His calmness is terrifying. Calm before the storm. If anything even begins to escalate, call the police for an escort. OP says, in quotes, does he know where your friend lives? If so, try to find another friend that he doesn't know, and then says, he does, and I'm worried he will come to her house where the kids and I will be staying after he finds the house empty. Honestly, I'm not sure how I'll act if I see him there. I might just lose my temper. Someone says to OP, have you any family members and friends you can call to be with you when you take the kids, just in case he stops remaining calm? OP says no, I'm waiting till he's out and then I will leave with the kids. I'd done it before. He couldn't do anything about it but make empty threats. And I really do hope that OP did get themselves out of that situation. But like what was said, the calmness in that, it is pretty terrifying, right? The fact that he told her he cancelled the plane tickets because he didn't want her to go. Just like that, it just felt sort of very blasé, yeah, I cancelled them so you can't go. It just feels very dark. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from White Pine Burning from Boomers Being Fools subreddit, saying, we have no buffet here. And quick warning, there is talk of racism within the story. You've been warned. My guy and I have a favorite Asian restaurant around the corner from us. We drop by a few times a month because the food is great, the servers are so kind, and the owner always stops by the table to sit with us and talk. It's like going to a friend's house. We stopped by last Thursday for dinner, and we saw a "we have no buffet" laminated sign on the door. When the owner came over to chat and we asked her about it, she took a deep sigh, rolled her eyes, and pulled up a chair. I feel like I'm at the table. Apparently, since she opened the place 25 years ago, people have come in expecting an Asian buffet. She's never had one. People looked around, saw it's a small place and no buffet. They'd leave. She said that's changed, however. She said she's been getting a continual stream of those old people who check in with the hostess, are shown to a table and given menus. The server comes over, flatware, water, and tea. She gives them a minute and comes back. We'll have the buffet, they say. Nowhere on the menu is a buffet listed. Look around at the 8 other tables and 6 booths. No buffet. The owner says that these folks always come back with, "What do you mean you got no buffet? All Chinese places have a buffet." They have a tantrum, get mouthy with a server, occasionally getting racist while they're at it, and storm out. But it doesn't end there. Even with a sign, the owner says she still has boomers read the sign, approach the hostess and ask, "Why don't you have a buffet? The sign says you don't have a buffet." The first commenter on this one says, "But Asian restaurant sans buffets are the best." OP says, "This one really is. There's not much to look at decor-wise, but she's had the same 3 servers for years. The food is pretty basic but wholesome and fresh, and it's on the table in no time. It's one of those places that's made with love, seriously. She works almost every day she's open because she really likes working there. She says if she had to be home, her teenagers would just make her crazy. She has a sister who runs her own place across town. It's been a family thing. She gives us free crab cheese." Crab cheese? I'm going to have to Google that afterwards. Another commenter says, "No, we don't offer buffet as the sign out front clearly states. The sign isn't written in Chinese. Can't you read English, sir/ma'am?" Opie says, "Yeah, I can read. I just don't know why. You won't just tell me why you don't have a buffet. I like buffets, and you say you don't have one. So why is that? Do I need to ask your manager?" So OP came in with an update a short while later and says, "You might recall I posted here a while back about me and my guy's favorite Chinese place. We eat there frequently, like 3 or 4 times a month. The owner is Asian, 2nd generation Asian American, and it's a place she's run for 25 years with her family. It's her life, and she loves what she does." What I posted was about the irate boomers who've demanded a Chinese buffet meal at a restaurant. They don't believe her when she's never offered a buffet and get mad at her for their own inability to read the damn menu. So she put up a sign that says in big letters, "No buffet here." Here's the update. Last Friday we stopped in. We're greeted by her daughter, and she waved from the kitchen door. A few minutes later, after we ordered, she came to our booth and asked if she could sit with us for a bit. What's been happening is that she's noticed an increase in hostility by customers, boomers mostly, towards her servers and herself. Her serving staff are all family and most are ESL and don't speak perfect English. Customers have been poking fun and disrespectful. Yes, even with a big 11 by 14 laminated sign at eye level on the front door. Boomers still get shitty when they told her there is no buffet served here. One of the most recent comments was, "All you Chinese people have buffets, so why not here?" The worst part is that recently someone, on more than one occasion, has been calling the county health department to complain about her restaurant. Her scores are on the county's compliance section of their website, and she's always had perfect scores. Yet someone has called 3 times to complain about live animals being kept in the kitchen and butchered for food. Rabbits mostly, but someone claimed she had cats too. The health department is obligated to check out the complaints, but they know her. They know the complaints are harassment, and they close them out each time. Guys, she's actually becoming afraid for her business. Her staff is experiencing uncivilized behavior that they didn't have before. She's afraid tariffs will hurt her budgets. She says she's going to stay put and stay strong. That's a weird one. Like, in all the local towns that I know of and been to, a buffet style restaurant is sort of in the minority, but the absolute thought process to go in, not see a buffet anywhere, there's a sign on the door, you look at the menu and then you still complain about it. It's just like such a wild thought process in itself. If you're not happy there's no buffet there, just go somewhere that there is. Look on Google, you'll find one somewhere that you can go to. Don't stand there and moan, because it's not going to change anything, is it? Not exactly like the restaurant's going to suddenly go, "You're bloody right, let's get the buffet started." And would you seriously want a buffet for those people anyway? I mean, there'd be a right pain in the tits. Oh, dearie me. Anyway, now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from Glittering Male 117 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit. And it says, "Am I in the wrong for telling my ex-husband that our kids are justified in feeling like they don't have a father? I'm 33 and have 2 kids, 12 and 8. I divorced their dad when I discovered he was cheating on me with a mum from our younger son's school group. Despite that betrayal, I agreed to share custody because I wanted my kids to grow up with their father in their lives. However, since the divorce, he's only been around when he's picking them up for visits. He often goes out with his stepchildren but rarely includes our kids, claiming those outings are spur of the moment and can't always include them. Eventually, I stopped pushing, but I've always thought it was unfair that he keeps his distance from our children's lives. Recently, I decided to upgrade my older son's computer, and he asked if we could give his old one to his cousin, my brother's son. My brother has been a huge support for my kids. He's always available to take them to their school events when I can't, and often takes them out to the park for trips when I'm busy. My ex, on the other hand, is rarely available for them. Anytime I ask him for help with an activity, he has an excuse. He's out of town or swamped with work. Ironically though, whenever his stepkids need something, he's there. Once he even argued with a stepkid's father at a school event, insisting he had the right to be there. When my ex found out I gave the computer to my nephew, he got upset. He complained that if I had money to spare on a gift like that, I should have forgiven 2 months of child support he had missed, since his finances were tight with a new baby. He added that if I could give away a computer, I should have gifted it to either his kids or his stepkids, who shared just one computer among the 3 of them. I told him my finances were none of his business and that I owed nothing to his stepchildren. Then his wife jumped into the conversation, accusing me of spoiling my son by giving him a new computer and of being petty for letting my son bring it to their house, claiming it was just to show off in front of his step-siblings. I told her she had no right to speak to me that way or question my decisions. I added that I allow my kids to see their father so they can grow up with him in their lives, not so she can interfere with how I parent. My ex was offended, but I told him this whole situation could have been avoided if his wife hadn't inserted herself where she doesn't belong. After that, things seemed to calm down until last week. I went to pick up the kids and my ex was visibly upset. He explained that he'd tried reading a bedtime story to our youngest. At home, he still likes to be read to before bed, usually by me or my brother. And when none of us are around, he listens to audiobooks. Apparently my ex wanted to make an effort to connect, so he offered to read it to him. But our son turned him down, saying he didn't need him for that because he could do it himself. My ex stayed to listen as he searched for a story for 8-year-olds without a dad on his tablet, and it hit him hard. The next day, my ex offered to take our older son to basketball practice, but he replied that he'd be going with his dad. He quickly corrected himself and said uncle. That made my ex even angrier, and when I came up to pick up the kids, he confronted me about it. I told him that if our kids feel like they don't have a father, he has only himself to blame. He tried to shift the blame onto me, saying I was the one pushing him away from his role. I told him it's up to him to show up for his kids, not something I can do for him. I reminded him he was the one who broke our family, and he's chosen to be more involved with his stepkids than with his own children. I told him not to kid himself. The kids are growing up and they're starting to see the reality of who he is as a father. If he keeps this up, he can't expect much from them in the future. After that exchange, his mum called me. While she's always been polite to me, I felt the need to say that I would have appreciated the same concern from her when she supported her son's affair, knowing her grandchildren were losing their father in the process. She hung up and we haven't spoken since. My brother advised me that I had every right to express how I feel, but he suggested that maybe this discussion shouldn't have happened in front of the kids. Later, my ex texted me saying that if I weren't so difficult, he'd spend more time with them. I told him his duty as a father doesn't depend on whether I'm easy or not, and he knows I've never prevented him from seeing the kids. The truth is, when he has to choose, he prefers outings with his stepkids over his own children, and that's something only he can change. It's exactly like you said. The older the kids get and the more this behavior continues, the kids are going to feel like that, and they're justified in feeling like that. It sounds like you've given him ample opportunity to step up and be in their lives and be a good father. And him getting involved in the computer and the ex's partner getting involved saying you're spoiling like you said, it's nothing to do with them at all. Take their nose out. And instead of taking accountability for his actions, he wants to blame you. He wants to keep turning it around, so he's trying to shirk his responsibilities with child support at the same time, saying he deserves to be let off a couple of months. Absolutely not. This is all his doing and his responsibility. But Lap Steel Guitar says you can only do so much, OP, and don't let him off the hook for any child support. The fact that it's stretching his budget is a him problem, not a you problem. And I agree with your brother that the conversation should not have happened in front of the kids, but if I understand correctly, your ex chose the time and place, not giving you much choice in the matter. Not the arsehole. Amazing Reserve says, I love how if she had extra money she should forgive child support, but him already knowing money was tight wasn't a reason to not have another kid. Ancient Wishbone quotes OP saying my ex stayed to listen as he searched for a story for 8-year-olds without a dad on his tablet. And then says, your kid is ruthless, good for him, not the arsehole. So OP comes in with her first update and says these past days have been a bit unusual. First, I want to thank all of you. I didn't expect to receive so much advice, and I never thought this app would be so useful. It's not very popular in my country. Now back to the topic. My ex sent me messages saying he wanted to resolve things, stop arguing and talk to me. I agreed. He came to my house and we didn't beat around the bush. We went straight to the point. He asked me if I really thought he was a bad father. I replied that looking back now, I never would have chosen him to be the father of my children. He said it wasn't easy for him, and I answered that it wasn't easy for me either because I take on both his role and mine. He told me he couldn't leave his stepchildren without a father because he has already broken their family, and I replied that he had left his own children without a father. He started crying and told me it was my fault, saying that when the infidelity happened, I refused to forgive him or go to couples therapy. I kept telling him things, I'll admit, they weren't kind, but none of them were lies. He asked me if, given his current state, I didn't feel sorry for him, and I said no. He told me he didn't think I could be so cruel, and I replied that when I changed jobs, pulled my kids out of school 2 months before the end of term, moved houses and watched him disappoint our kids over and over again, any empathy I might have felt turned into apathy. He left after that. His mother called me and said she knew what I had told her son, that he hadn't stopped crying, and that she didn't understand how I could carry so much hatred to hurt her son like that. She said I should just get over it. I answered, with all due respect, what I said wasn't out of hatred but out of truth. If your son is crying, it's because he's finally facing the consequences of his actions. Maybe instead of worrying about how he feels now, you should have taught him to take responsibility and treat people with respect. She said I didn't know what it was like to feel a mother's love and see a child suffer. And I replied that I did understand because I have 2 children who cry over a living father. 2 children who see their dad being a father to other kids when he doesn't have time to be their father. She said he was sorry, and I told her not to put words in his mouth and stop calling me about anything related to her son. I hung up. I wanted to cry so badly, but I'm a damned mother and I don't have time for that. I want my kids to feel safe, loved, and strong enough not to need anyone, not even me, to be themselves. Last Thursday, I took my kids to their cousin's birthday party, hosted by my ex-sister-in-law. I still have a good relationship with her. She was the one who told me about the infidelity and that her mother was already encouraging it. My ex showed up alone and irritated. My kids kept their distance from him. They kissed his hand, but they ignored him completely. My ex-mother-in-law told the kids they should show more respect to their father, and my eldest replied that he doesn't show respect for me since he and his partner talk badly about me. I scolded my son, not for what he said, but for how he addressed his grandmother. I told him it was wrong to eavesdrop on private conversations and repeat them. Then I asked him to gather his things because we were leaving. My ex-mother-in-law asked me not to leave, saying the kids were having fun and we could resolve this as adults. She asked my ex what he had said, and he claimed not to remember. I told her I didn't care, and she said we should be good parents. I replied that to be good parents, you need to be good people first. Whew. My ex was getting agitated. My ex-mother-in-law asked why we couldn't have a civilized co-parenting relationship. I told her everything I've mentioned here about his free will to see the kids and how the second custody agreement isn't working since he only sees them some weekends. My ex didn't want to discuss it, saying he had too many kids at home. My ex-mother-in-law told him the only kids who should feel comfortable are his, and the comfort of others should be provided by their biological father. My ex wanted to end the conversation because his mother was scolding him for being a careless father. He also said it was my fault. I asked him to clarify how it was my fault. You can see the kids whenever you want. What more do you want? He started yelling, claiming I was only being petty because I didn't need the money since I earned more than him and had fewer kids to feed. I told him I wouldn't continue the conversation and I'd show him what being uncivilized looks like by filing for the overdue child support payments. His mother asked what I meant by overdue payments. I explained that he was 3 months behind. She was furious, slapped him, and demanded to know what he had done with the money for his children. He answered, I couldn't let Junior miss out on attending the same school as my son. I didn't want him to feel inferior. My ex-mother-in-law said she couldn't believe it, and they started arguing. I left. Yet, for context, my youngest son attends a private school, and my ex pays for his stepson to attend the same school. Yesterday, my ex-mother-in-law came over and said she would pay the overdue fees. She brought the money in cash. I knew my ex would be furious. Here's some context. My ex-mother-in-law doesn't work, doesn't own anything herself, and lives with my ex-sister-in-law. However, she does have significant savings from her inheritance. If she pays the tuition, my ex knows there won't be much left for him when she passes, even though she's still healthy. He's been asking her for years to invest some of that money in his business ideas, but she's always refused. My ex's retaliation was not picking up the kids this weekend. Yesterday, my ex-sister-in-law called me. She doesn't know all the details yet, but apparently my ex's 15-year-old stepson punched him in the mouth. She said she'll let me know exactly what happened once she finds out. And before anyone asks, the new custody agreement will likely take a year to finalize. The The court says the overdue payments are the priority and the rest can wait. We have more urgent cases. Snoo Woofer says on the back of this one, at least his mama finally got some fucking sense. Her son is a piece of shit. Glass Girl says he obviously fed her a line of bullshit when she was defending him. Odd Welcome says, when the evil mother-in-law turns on a spoiled child, you know he was 100% wrong. It's not even a question of perspective anymore. Unusual Potato says the chef's kiss was being punched by the stepson he prioritized his own kids over. That he feels utterly ridiculous now. OP came in with another update and says a promise is a promise. As I mentioned earlier, my ex's stepson had an altercation with him because my ex refused to let him go out. Now I have more details. My ex's stepson had plans to go bowling with some friends. His biological father had already given him permission and money for the outing. However, when he told his mother, she said he couldn't go because they needed him to stay home and watch his younger siblings. My ex and his wife had planned an outing and needed someone to stay with the kids. This led to an argument. The boy raised his voice to his mother and my ex stepped in to demand that he respect her. The boy replied that he wasn't his father, trying to maintain authority. My ex told him that as long as he lived under his roof, he had to follow his rules. The boy ignored him and turned away. My ex followed him and touched his shoulder to get his attention. At that moment, the boy turned around, punched him, and shouted that he wasn't his father and could never compare to him. The mother scolded him for his behavior, but the boy, still angry, shouted back that he hated her. This version was shared by my ex and his wife to my ex-mother-in-law. My sister-in-law later relayed it to me. They went to see my ex-mother-in-law to try and gain her sympathy and convince her to take care of the kids, the two stepchildren, and the baby so they could go out. However, my ex-mother-in-law told them she would not take care of the children. When I spoke to my ex, he mentioned he was dealing with family issues and claimed that the boy's biological father was turning him against him. He didn't give me many details and omitted most of what my sister-in-law had shared. He simply informed me that, due to the situation, he wouldn't be able to pick up our children this weekend. The 15-year-old boy is now staying with his biological father. As for what I mentioned earlier, my ex was 2 months behind on child support, and that same week he was supposed to make another payment. He didn't, leaving him 3 months behind. In the end, his mother was the one who covered the overdue amount. Regarding the child who attends the same school as my son, it's not the 15-year-old involved in the altercation. It's his younger stepbrother who is 8 years old, the same age as my son. I decided to enroll my son in that school when the affair became public. At the time, I was working as a kindergarten teacher at the same school, and the boy had been one of my students. We all knew each other, and to protect my children from rumors, I transferred them to a private school. This happened 2 months before the school year ended. Thanks to the circumstances and the support of some kind people, we managed to get them admitted. GD Rom says, so even after the punch and the argument, they still wanted to go out. What a pathetic excuse for parents. Hope their marriage eventually falls apart. Yeah, I was thinking about that as well. I was actually shocked by that. I know it's not the most shocking thing in this story, but after everything that's gone on, your children being pushed away by yourself and telling you that, the stepson then turning around and punching you, and they're just like, oh yeah, let's still go out for the evening. Go and grab a bite to eat. We just need to find a babysitter. It's like, what the fuck is going on? What are your priorities here? And I just found myself feeling for OP, of course, after everything she's been through. But for all the kids in this, all these people that's had their lives turned upside down because of their selfish choices. And again, instead of taking responsibility for this, taking a step back and just saying, yeah, I've absolutely fucked up here. I'm sorry for the hurt I've caused, and just trying in some way, it might not be possible ever, but just trying in some way to lessen the damage that you've caused, instead of doubling down and blaming everyone else for your problems. It's just so shit. But Carolina Mama says not only did they want to go out, but it's funny how he had money to take his new wife out but not pay child support for his 2 bio children. Whatever says, I think it's funny that because of the altercation, he said he couldn't take his own children for the weekend. So yeah, the 15-year-old was right. The man would never compare to the kid's father. The kid's own father is a better man. Libra Harper Serene says a true father would prioritize his children's needs, especially during a conflict. Instead, he uses the situation to avoid his responsibilities. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, this next story comes from our very own subreddit, r/Mark Narrations subreddit from Extra Assignment 1387. And it's some work-related drama. Lovely. It says, The Office Holiday Decoration Wars. I can't use my main because some of my friends are on it, and they are part of this office crazy. So throw away because I can't not share this. To boost morale because our jobs have gone back into the office scene rather than just letting us work from home like gods, our office has decided on decorating competitions for the different seasons. The winner or winning group gets a few gift cards and a basket of goodies, with their office pictures on our website and Facebook. Overall, it's been pretty chaotic and so many problems. Christmas is on the horizon and the competition has heated up. Backtracking to Halloween, the announcement was made sometime in September and not very many were interested. They thought it was stupid and annoying, complaining it wouldn't do anything. Enter Linda, fake name, 40s female. Linda took this chance to decorate and ran with it. Apparently, her house is the top-notch one of the neighborhood every year for every holiday. Days after the email, she dragged her poor husband in and had him help move all the furniture out of her office. She laid down black carpet, changed her light fixtures, changed the lights, added fake candles, switched out her boring office desk for a coffin-shaped one, and more. The curtains were replaced with spiderweb lace. The chair was replaced by a creepy bench. She added renter-friendly peelable wallpaper. There was a mini fog machine and creepy music, pumpkins and more. This was far beyond what HR, management and our owner had predicted, but it started a fire. Literally, I hope. In days, offices became witch hunts, mad scientist workstations and organ-filled bloody messes. People in cubicle sections banded together, making mini haunted houses or jump scares, creating graveyards or apocalyptic zombie moments. Desks were designed for style rather than functionality. People came in with costumes to wear when not in meetings with outside clients. Normal internal meetings now had clowns, zombies, ghosts and more. People began bringing in themed snacks for their desk display. IT was a strobe light show. People started standoffs in the hallways. People began nitpicking at others' ideas. Someone smashed a cake into a clown's face. A desk was thrown. People spent more time at the office after hours to work and scare each other shitless. There was a Jacko-clown thing that would pop up randomly and scare people in the break room. No one knows who put it there. Management played eerie music daily. Needless to say, Linda won round one. Last week, Linda began again with Christmas decorating. She had a red carpet, green curtains, a freaking small Christmas tree. It's small, real, and smells nice. She is designing. She's changed her light fixtures again. She's wearing Santa outfits. She warned us her husband will be in tomorrow to help her carry things. The poor man looked so defeated last time. I had to ask how his house was, and he said their garage wasn't for the cars, it was for decorations. Others have been hauling in totes and boxes of different things. The cubicle section has entirely banded together. They were doing a big ass winter scene with a fake sleigh for pictures and things. They're building the sleigh from cardboard. Everything is white. They're making paper snowflakes to hang from the ceiling. Someone from an office wanted to do a snow scene and was shouted down for stealing ideas. If anyone wants an update on this, let me know. I was just like, what the hell's going on here? It sounds like the management's in on it as well. Any company that I've worked for, they might allow you to, decorate a desk, something like that. But to start doing the whole office, changing light fixtures, wallpaper, carpets, people would just be going like, nah, you can't be doing that just for health and safety. When OP said it had started a fire, I thought they meant literally the smoke machine or something caught fire. I thought, fucking hell. But I like there's little tribes forming, like the cubicle section all band in together. Like I've told you before, I worked for a company that had a warehouse attached to it, and upstairs was a call center, and it was like very much cubicles. And that whole building was very tribal, like the call center. They were, they barely interacted with anyone else, but they had a good bond between them and done stuff together. You had accounts who didn't socialize with anyone else, the IT department, warehouse, where there was only 3 of us. They tried getting us all to bond at one point by having like a company day. After a meeting, we all had to, they basically went through every person in the company, went A, B, C, and then you all grouped together with your relevant letter. So the groups were all mixed up, and they done stuff like trying to teach everyone to juggle, and then you had to perform as a group at the end in front of everyone. It was just like the most awful thing. I was like, oh fuck, I just want to do my work. I'm just here for that. I was just like, no, I'm not standing in front of the whole company trying to juggle. And I'm all up for like socializing to a point, sitting down with another team, over a beer, just chatting about their lives and what their interests are and stuff. But acting like a literal fucking clown in front of the company wasn't it for me. I play anyone that does love that sort of stuff though. But anyway, I've gone on again. What do you guys make of this situation? Have you got your own office-based drama? Don't forget to share it over at r/Mark Narrations so I can tag them on at the end of our updated stories, because I do love to hear it. Our next story comes from Throwaway Account and says, neighbor, 40 female, it's a neighbor story, keep showing up unannounced to my 24 male house. I recently moved into a new house in a small gated community over the summer. This is the first time I've lived in a house since I was little. When I moved in, I received a lot of welcome gifts from my neighbors since it's a very tight-knit community. This is how I met most of my neighbors, including Dana and her husband. Dana is my next door neighbor. The first time we met, Dana came to my front door with her husband and 3 sons to introduce themselves. They brought me homemade cookies as a welcome gift. Her sons were really into dirt bikes and saw mine in the garage as I was moving in. I told them they could come back over and check them out anytime they wanted. I was being nice. Dana never really said anything or gave out any red flags. The next week I was at work and got a motion notification from one of my cameras. It was a video of Dana by herself looking into a window on the side of my house. I maybe thought she was just checking to see if I was home and didn't think much of it. Then I get a text from her later that day, asking me when I would be home since her sons wanted to come over and check out my bikes. I replied that I would be working late, and she responded that she would let her sons know. Nothing ever really happened for a few weeks. The second event was Saturday night. She knocked on my front door and asked if I would like to come over for dinner. I didn't really have much going on, so I said sure. I go over to her house and I'm expecting her family to be there. Nope. It was just her. She said that her family was visiting a family member. I didn't want to be rude, so I ended up staying. Dana is a big talker, so I barely got a word in that night. It felt strange, but it was just a conversation. I saw her husband Chris a few days later while checking the mail, and he asked me if I enjoyed Dana's cooking. I responded it was great and I wished he could have made it. So I guess he knew about us having dinner and was fine with it. The third event was a few days ago. My camera caught Dana walking in my backyard by herself, looking into my shed. I confronted her on the phone and she said she was just looking for a shovel. I informed her that my tools were in the garage and made sure to let her know I can see everything moving on my cameras. She apologized for not asking me before coming over. She later that day sent me a picture of my boat in the driveway, asking if I could take her out in it. I left her on red. The latest event happened last night. I had my somewhat new girlfriend over at the house. We were grilling in the backyard having a good time when all of a sudden Dana shows up with her boys and literally self-invited her family to dinner. It was extremely awkward for everyone. I tried telling them that I didn't have enough for everyone. Dana claimed that her family wasn't that hungry. Dana didn't leave until my girlfriend left. I'm extremely confused if Dana is into me or just has no social awareness. The only thing at this point keeping me from straight up confronting her is that we are neighbors and have to live next to each other. Her husband has been nice and doesn't give off any strange vibes. What do I tell her to leave me alone? Do I need to wait for her to do something again? Please help. Man, that's wild. And I was cringing thinking about that backyard scenario while you're grilling and the family just turns up and says, "Don't worry, we're not hungry." What? And it just sits there. As an adult, any house that I've been in, there's never been like this close-knit community vibe. The only time I've ever really had it was when I was younger and I lived in that wild area you all know about. And it was wild, but it was lovely for the most part as well. And like I've told you before, people used to leave their doors open and, you know, us kids that were friends with each other used to just wander in and out of each other's houses to go and see each other. And occasionally the neighbors would do the same. And I told you about this neighbor before. We just all sat there watching family TV one Saturday evening. And, you know, I'm sat on the floor next to my dad, who sat in his armchair. My mum sat in her own armchair. And then we got a sofa against the back wall. And this neighbor just comes wandering in with her bare feet, puts them up on the sofa and started picking her toenails off. It was grim. Screw your face up as much as you can right now. That was my face. I can remember one of my brothers coming down the stairs during all this, looked over the stairs to see her on the sofa with her feet, and he was like, "Fuck that." Straight back up the stairs. A user says to the OP, "This woman thinks she owns your house. I hate neighbors like this." Commenter says, "OP said she's the HOA president." OP is so fucked. Magic says, "Get blinds for your windows and keep them shut. Motion sensor lights. No trespassing signs. Get a security system. Just call the cops. Going into your property looking for a shovel is just testing the waters. Give her an inch and she'll take a mile and your life will be misery. Better she hates you than steals from you." OP says, "I have blinds on the house. In the video it looked like she was trying to find the window that was open. When I first was moving in, I left my garage open and went to lunch. A box of my clothes labeled clothes was missing. At the time I thought maybe I lost it in the moving process, but now I think she had something to do with it." Magic replies saying, "Oh, holy shit, nightmare scenario." OP replied to that saying, "I asked 2 different neighbors about her, and they both said Dana was an awesome neighbor to have." Sounds like they're just trying to offload her to me. Commenter says, "She's a taker. She just pushes and pushes, trying to get as much attention and shit as possible. Tell her to fuck off." And this is when OP says, "Well, she's the HOA president, unfortunately." Ruby replies saying, "Oh my god, dude, living with an HOA sucks already, but next door to the president, she's not into you. She's into everyone, and by that I mean the type of people who become HOA presidents are always hater hall monitors. They're going to give you grief for everything and watch you like a hawk. I doubt she wants you romantically. She just wants to know about everything that goes on in her little fiefdom." So OP comes in and says, "Original post on this account," and wow, I wasn't expecting the original post to blow up the way it did. I would like to thank everyone for their advice. Turns out the people who said she was into me were right. Dana texted me last Thursday, letting me know that her family were going out of town for the weekend. She said that she would be lonely and wanted to know if I'd keep her company. She said something like she's grateful to have such a young and strong man in her life, referring to me. I'm 90% sure that means she's into me. I politely declined by telling her that I would be with my girlfriend. Friday night, I'm chilling with my girlfriend at home and Dana knocks the door. I was so thankful for my girlfriend because she let Dana have it. We didn't hear anything from Dana the entire weekend. I guess now Dana is mad because she issued an HOA violation for my trash cans being in the wrong place. Also, the other night, she was taking pictures of my girlfriend's car parked on the street for whatever reason. Yesterday, I had a conversation with one of the neighbors who let me know that Dana and her husband are apparently in an open relationship because her husband is bi. Anyways, not really my problem, and I'll just deal with them as my neighbors. Ever since my girlfriend had that talk with her, she hasn't been on my property. Thanks again for the help. I've seen one too many HOA stories. OP, you are in the shit. You need to document everything that you can. You've already got one HOA violation. She's going to find anything she can on you now and punish you for it. I had my suspicions that husband might be in on this in some way or form, that he comes back and says, "How was dinner last night?" Wink, wink. But yeah, absolutely keep those text messages, keep the recorded footage, and keep watching out for the shit that she's gonna pull, because this isn't the end. I'm sure of that. Bleacher Blonde says, "I'd go to the HOA and threaten them with a sexual harassment suit if she keeps up with the fines and pictures." A dude from a spot says yes, but make sure you frame it to the HOA as they are enabling her harassment. They are a vehicle for her harassment. They are making you feel attacked and harassed for not having sex with her. You plan to hold them liable for it. Don't let them tell you it's between you and her. Tell them that if they continue, you'll be sending them a certified letter with the same information so that you have it on record that you notified them of their role in harassing you. Togar Sucks says, good thing she's dumb enough to do it over text. Damn, I need an update on that one, but now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. It's been a while since we had a bit of HOA drama, isn't it? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Our next story comes from Incessant Pondering from the Am I Overreacting subreddit and says, Am I overreacting? Girlfriend deleted all of our photos together. My girlfriend, 25 female, and I, 26 male, are in a rough patch right now. After I found her talking to an ex-fling behind my back, but have both confirmed trying to work through it. During this time of working on us, she deleted all of our pictures off of social media. I told her that it hurt my feelings that she did this, and she said she deleted many pictures, not just ours, and was considering deleting the app altogether because it felt weird posting anymore. About 2 days after this talk, she posted several photos of just her and a few of her dog. I do feel so juvenile being hurt by this, but I have a hard time reading this as anything other than an attempt to hurt me or attempt to start moving on. It just feels counterintuitive to the process of rebuilding trust, and I feel like if I bring this up to her, she'll just get defensive and combative. I don't think it sounds like you're overreacting here. It sounds like you're going through a particular rough patch in your relationship where you're trying to work on it, etc. What makes you think deleting photos, you two together, would be a positive thing for your relationship? It just sounds like, it's kind of done. But the first commenter says she's testing the waters, dump her and move on. Sun Panda says, yep, she's done with you, homie. Be thankful for the good times you'll had. Spare yourself and her the hateful talk about wasted time because it wasn't wasted. Your time with her is simply just done. Think about it. She just got busted for talking to someone she used to fuck around with, and now she's deleted your pictures. Don't let her fool you. Hit the gym and stay hydrated. Low Profile says she deleted it because she didn't want others to know about the relationship. In short, she is just testing new territories and leaving you as a plan B if it doesn't work out. She has already cheated on you, as you said, and I'm 100% sure she's there again. She wants some advice. End it for good and preserve your mental health. At the right time, you will find someone right for you. How long have you been together? Opie replied saying 6 months. Midwest said, cut your losses. The disrespect. She's looking to see if the other side is greener. So around half a month later, Opie came in with her update and said, you guys were right. She was moving on. She was telling me we were working on things, but she needed to take it gradually. I continued trying to work on our relationship for about a week and a half after making my post. I was riddled with anxiety, hoping that she felt things were moving in the right direction. Texting her nice messages throughout the day, doing small acts of kindness to try and uplift her. We were planning on moving in together around the new year, and she started acting weird about it. Saying things like, you don't need to rush getting your place ready for me. We started seeing each other less and less and talking less and less as she told me she needed time and space. When I did hear from her, she would ask me for favors or money. I had some work done on her car because it was unsafe and I didn't want anything to happen to her. Paid for her to enroll in college because she was stressed about her life not being on track. She was going to accept $1,000 to help her with her last month's rent. Thank God I didn't give it to her. She wanted me to help her with a $1,000 hospital bill. Thank God I didn't. A few days ago, my anxiety reached a head and I logged onto her Instagram. She's been telling people that she's moving back to her home state next month for weeks. She was FaceTiming her ex at 1 in the morning. She was getting everything ready to leave me and having me help pay for it. And anxious at home missing her. We're done now. I collected my things from her place while she was at work and texted her what I found. She got defensive and verbally attacked me for going on her Instagram and going to her place unaccompanied. I blocked her on everything except her number. She blocked my number. I know it's for the best that I have my answer and that we are done, but I stupidly miss her. I think about her all the time. This hurts. Bombshell Puka says, it's okay to grieve the end of a relationship, even if it was for the best. Be kind to yourself and allow yourself time to heal. Full Frontal says, I just can't imagine myself grieving this. She sounds awful. Opie says, it's only the bad showcased here. In hindsight, yes, I ignored and tolerated things I shouldn't have. But loving someone makes you overlook things you shouldn't, and the good times did exist. Trying to spend less time thinking of those good times these days. Relative Standard says, please don't ever think that the next time you give your heart to someone that they don't deserve the exact same treatment you have given this ex. You sound like a wonderful partner and a lovely human. Someone will be so lucky to have you and they will be so worth it. Your ex sounds awful and no doubt will get their karma. You know that you gave her the world and it wasn't enough. Don't let her treatment of you make you bitter. My concern would be for you to think that all women are like this, etc. And they aren't. There are so many amazing women who will be worth all this nonsense. I'm sorry you're hurting. Breakups are the worst, but why not organize some sort of solo trip to help heal and reflect? If you like the outdoors, look into camping. If you like the city and party, then go to a new one and book a hotel and just treat yourself. Opie says, thank you so much for your kind words. This was so uplifting and needed. I think that a solo trip is a great idea. I need to recenter myself. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's have another story from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. And this one's from Just Mamacita, who says, am I the arsehole here for refusing to hand over my grandmother's jewelry to my cousin who was promised it first? My grandmother passed away last year, and she left me, 24 female, a beautiful jewelry collection in her will. Growing up, I was very close to her and we spent countless weekends together where she would let me try on her pieces. It always felt like our little thing, so when she left them to me, I was deeply touched. Here's where it gets complicated. My cousin, 28 female, let's call her Emma, insists that my grandmother verbally promised her the collection years ago, even though there's no mention of it in her will. Emma claims that the jewelry is hers by right because she was the oldest grandchild and used to model the pieces during family events when she was younger. She's even told everyone that my grandmother's decision must have been a mistake or made under pressure. Emma called me last week, demanding I hand the jewelry over to honor what she says was my grandmother's real wish. When I said no, she called me selfish and accused me of stealing what was meant for her. The family is now divided, with some saying I should just give Emma a few pieces to keep the peace, and others telling me to hold my ground because the will was clear. Emma is now posting passive-aggressive messages on social media, making me out to be the villain. I feel terrible because I don't want to cause family drama, but I also believe my grandmother knew exactly what she was doing when she left the collection to me. Am I the arsehole here? Look, she's the one who's causing the family drama here. She's the one who's turning to social media and then trying to manipulate you, posting passive-aggressive messages, and you're simply just honoring your grandmother's wish. I think it's one thing when you're in that position and someone comes up to you and says, talks to you family member to family member and says, I would really love if there's anything like, if there's a spare piece that I can maybe have to remember grandma. I think that's something, isn't it? You still have the choice to say absolutely not because your grandmother wanted you to have it. But that's one thing, isn't it? But to come up to you, accuse you of being selfish and stealing what was meant for her to honor grandmother's wishes when you know that's absolutely bullshit because the will says different, and try and time again to manipulate you into handing it over. It just shows what that kind of person is. But AO says not the arsehole. It sounds like your cousin is trying to scam you out of it since her only excuse is that she verbally promised it to her. The grandma left it to you in her will, which would have taken at least a little bit of consideration. So even if she did promise it to her years prior, she still ultimately decided to give it to you. Opie says that's how I see it too. My grandmother had plenty of time to think about her decision, and she clearly chose to leave it to me in writing. It feels unfair that my cousin is trying to rewrite history now. Candyland Canada says 1. Grab a bag of quarters. 2. Search this sub for the word selfish. 3. Every time you read a post where the demanding party called OP selfish because OP wouldn't do something, put a quarter in the jar. Warning, do not play this as a drinking game. The will is dispositive. Ignore everyone's opinion. They weren't left the jewelry in the will, so they have no stake in this. Ignore Emma and her sour grapes posts. Learn while you're young that not every outburst warrants a reaction or response from you. The only one kicking up a familial fuss is Emma. Don't dishonor your grandmother by going against her express, written wishes, not the arsehole. Opie replies saying, "This is spot on advice. It's true that people throw around selfish to guilt others into doing what they want. I need to remember that the will reflects my grandmother's clear intentions, and giving in would disrespect that. Thank you for putting it so clearly." Luna Velvet says not the arsehole. Verbal agreements about inheritance, especially when contested, tend to lack the weight of a documented and witnessed will. Not only have you adhered to the legal and probable emotional wishes of your grandmother by respecting her will, you've also prevented any ambiguity that your cousin's claims might introduce to the situation. Moreover, your grandmother's decision to put this will in writing, rather than just a verbal promise, speaks volumes about her intentions. Opie says that's exactly how I feel. The fact that my grandmother went through the process of putting it in writing makes it clear that she knew what she wanted. Verbal claims just can't outweigh the effort and thought she put into her will. Thank you for seeing it that way. I just find it absolutely wild the way some of these families approach each other as well. I would never go up to one of my brothers or cousins or any family member or anyone in general and talk to them in this way. With the manipulation and accusing you of being selfish, etc. I think it just says a lot about that person's character, and turning to social media to put all their shit on there as well. It's just like, ugh, dearie me. But anyway, now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so, so much. And hopefully, I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.